Howdy, hi, partner. My southern accent on real quick. All right, there we go. I'm a southern good old boy with the Range Rover soccer mom glasses on because I couldn't find my white trash sunglasses that are scuffed the hell up from asphalt because I found them on the side of the road and then I dropped them again 3 other times. Anyway, we're going to be... This is the racist episode. Oh, my bad. No.
No.
No, this is the whack job episode.
Exactly. This is the whack job episode.
I told him before, by the way, is that if we ever do one of those special episodes I think I mentioned on a podcast before, which is that every so often him or me will get a episode that'll be our episode. And that'll be on a topic that normally we wouldn't necessarily talk about because only one of us are interested in it, basically.
Exactly.
And so... if it would be his, basically, although I would be semi-interested, especially if it's just dunking on religion in general, but that's another story. Anyway, but if we ever do that, I said what we need to do is we need to either make or we need to find a really cheap purchase for a pope costume.
Exactly.
Or an archbishop. I want to be a pope, though. I want to dress up like the goddamn pope. And I think even me, it would be even more perfect because I'm the atheist. Even though you're the Jew, I think it'd be even funnier if I was the pope because then it's like, oh, hell yeah. I'm about to show you the way of God, son. I'm about to show you how he loves you. Now bend over behind the altar over here. Let me get my choir on. Just unzip real quick. Let old Bessie free. Don't worry. If your parents ever ask what the hell happened to you for the last hour, just say you were at a rummage sale with me. It'll be all right.
Rummage sale, wow.
That was not wrong. I was rummaging around in your sale booth. In your internal kiosk.
I'm not even going to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Welcome to the Off the Cuff podcast. My name is Danny.
And I am Shaun.
And we have severe problems and issues.
Exactly. But
at least I'm proud of mine. Way too many to begin to list. Anyway, so what we want to talk about today is it's an angry episode or a rant episode, so to speak. I figured we could do. We both obviously have plenty of things that we're probably pretty pissed off about, especially the state of the state, so to speak. Because technically I'm the only Oregonian, actually, because he was technically born in San Diego.
Exactly.
So technically he's a Californian by birthright. But anyway, so I'm the superior person here.
Apparently.
No, that's what Californians would say normally if you lived there long enough, especially SoCal. But anyway, it says the guy wearing the Range Rover mom van glasses who lives in $1 million mansion and yet acts like her life is in shit, complete shit. I'm so stressed. You don't understand how difficult it is to raise 4 kids and take them to the all the different parks that we play the soccer games at, and car maintenance, and I have to do that once every 3 months.
Like Jimmy Criminy, get a grip. That's the problem with you cis white boys. You don't understand the struggle of us modern women who are practically single mothers because their husbands are working all day. I'm not going into particular with this, am I? No. Anyway. But yeah, the state of Oregon. The state of Oregon. Because it's just going to absolute shit. And I can't remember, when did you guys move up here in your childhood? 1990.
Well, again, how old were you at that point?
I was about
7?
I was
6?
No, I was 5 years old.
Oh, 5. Okay. So again, that's even better than my dad, because my dad was born in San Bernardino.
Oh, geez.
Good old Inland Empire, and he moved up here when he was 7, but technically to Southern Oregon, to state of Jefferson. Yeah, the state of Oregon, because obviously, again, I'm born and raised here in the west side of the Portland area. Actually, technically just down the road by 4 miles is where I was actually born. But, and then actually where I grew up most of my life is just down the road 2 miles. So, wow. I mean, literally I am kind of in the central heart, or diagonal, I guess you could say, of where I've spent my whole 32 years of life so far.
Wow. roots are a huge thing because obviously the impact where you're born, especially if you're born and you're actually raised most of your life there, especially your formative years in a specific place. No matter how badly somebody wants to get out, usually eventually they'll have to acknowledge that there's still some sort of a pull back because, well, they want to call it nostalgia or what it really is, which is that there's a root there. You know, there's like almost a soul tie, you know,
exactly,
because you literally, like, your energy is imbued there because you were literally formed and you literally continue to form there until you became your adulthood, at least, or whatever else, your adulthood. That sounds so weird, but you know, and like, so obviously it's a hugely impactful thing, and that's why I've actually told people before, I'm like, you can take the boy out of the hood, but you can't take the hood out of the boy.
Exactly.
You know, so, and I say that because it's literally true for me, because like, I could live literally halfway across the world from Aloha, but I will always be Alohan at heart. Like, it'll always feel like home. No matter how much it changes, I think it'll always feel like home. Like, it'll ruin me if it's so changed in the future where it becomes like a Westland suburb, you know, where it's like all of a sudden it's all super rich instead of impoverished like it's always been. Because it's just not
home.
It's not home anymore. Like, it's so opposite of that. But at the same time, your roots are still there, because you could even still even if they change the street layout, you could still navigate to the exact spot where you grew up, you know, or whatever. So, you know, home is very important to my heart. Like, I'm a very sentimental person, I guess, because if I really think about it, because like my heart, literally, I feel it in my heart when I talk about it. Like, I almost want to cry in a way, because not just the nostalgia factor and how much I kind of almost miss the days I was growing up in that. Even though I came from a very fucked up background, I somehow still am so attached to that time where I want to be back in the old house, despite how illegally against code it was, even for when it was built in 1975, to where the contractor who took it from us quite literally told us with just shock in every way that he was stunned that we did not die in a house fire because it was that fucking illegally against code, even for 1975 standards. And this was in 2013 by that point. So like, think about how wildly more against code that house had to have been, and somehow it didn't literally fall apart or burn with us alive in it. And I'm still fucking attached to that and anchored to it, you know?
I bet.
15 2/3 of a year spent growing up in that house.
Dude, I mean, to tell you the truth, the, what was it called? The area where you come and visit me and stuff like that every once in a while, that generalized area, the apartments over there, and also the trailer park over there, I literally lived there for about a good 20 to 30 years, ever since I was here in this state. Most of my years were over there in that generalized area.
Yeah.
The everywhere else, though, not very seldom anywhere else. I mean, I basically spent 5 years over in Tualatin.
I just realized, by the way,
area as well.
Just realized he actually would have moved here when he was 4, because he's 40 this year.
Correct.
And if it was really 1990 you moved here, you would have been 4.
Correct.
Yeah, so you weren't 5, you were 4, so you were even younger. So really, your formative years were growing up here.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about him growing up in the apartments kind of over here, really close by, is funny because my family still has attachments to those apartments too. And it actually kind of goes back into, like, it doesn't matter how far back in time you go and how short of a time you live in a certain place, it can still have such an outsized impact on you, whether you realize it or not. Usually it's going to be subconscious for people. But, like, for my mom, it's not. Because even my brother, actually, Mario, the youngest of my 2 half-brothers, who are notably older than me. But yeah, you know, he grew up for like 2 years. They lived in those apartments there. And my mom still remembers the exact fucking unit she lived in. Wow. with my brothers after they moved from Forest Grove, and she always, with grave detail, recites how much she regretted moving to Beaverton because of how cliquey it's always been, and how, like, it was true community in Forest Grove, and like everybody really looked out for each other, everybody helped each other, everybody celebrated each other. They always, no matter what, they always working with each other. Like, everyone was an extended family. As soon as you move out here, the usual fucking, like, city, like, cliquey bullshit happens because Beaverton's such a cliquey, you know, city.
Oh, that is so true.
It's ridiculous. So it's very exclusionary, ironically. and it's just a normal middle income neighborhood otherwise, but like they seem to act like and believe that they're living in some like rich neighborhood, you know, where they can afford to be exclusionary and cliquey and just entitled. It's really bizarre. But anyway, this is the longest winded way to kind of just say is like, you know, I especially am attached to my home via my roots, right? Like all my memories are here. I remember it like it was when I was a kid. And of course, that's the first piece that kind of falls, is how quickly your area gets redeveloped and changed.
Yeah.
So that you can literally remember, like even at 22 or 20, I had so many different places around here. I could immediately talk like I was the cliche, like 80-year-old saying, back in my day, I was 20. And I could have done that with so many different places. And I did, because it hurt to see it get redeveloped and change so much. And I actually, honestly, I can't imagine what it was like just before I was born, because that's when this whole area up here especially got developed and completely changed. Because in the 80s and early 90s, even the early 90s, like up to about the year I was born, 94, they were planning on building PDX where the nature park is, Walton Hills Nature Park. So where Merlot Station and everything is.
Wow.
And 170th. They were going to build it there. So like literally one tiny little incremental shift and PDX would have been outside my backyard instead.
Wow.
I would have lived in an airport neighborhood, basically, or the outer edge of an airport neighborhood. Jeez. A major international airport. It's never been a focus city really, or a hub, because it's so small overall, and there's not really much to do in Portland or the Portland area, obviously.
Well, no
so go figure, it's not really a destination that people care about. So airlines don't really care about it either. But still, it's still going to be substantial, because you still have what, like, I think it's 50 to 60 million fucking people going through PDX every year right now, and it's like slowly growing. So like, it's still, for not even being a focus city, this thing is packed every fucking day and night, and it's just scary to think about. Actually, now that I think about it, it makes me wonder what they would have done with HIO, with Hillsborough, because that's too close now to a major international airport and runways. You know, you think about it, everything could have been so different on the entire west side if they had chosen to do that. And I'm very thankful they didn't, but like that's kind of just for contrast's sake, right? Like, I think about it, I'm so sad about how much it's been ruined to me because of how heavily, like, everything's changed and developed. Again, I remember when this exact fucking apartment unit and apartment building and apartment complex that I live in and have for upwards of 8 years as of March 15th. I remember when this thing was just a barn. It was a big blank green field with a barn all the way up to where, you know, Holly is, and the primate torture facility, aka the OHSU Vaccine Research Institute. It's a torture facility. It should have been shut down in like the 90s when the first push really came. But either way, you know, like all the way down, and then all the way down to where, you know, the railroad tracks are now. Like, I still remember that, and I remember when they built PCC Willow Creek, and then I remember when they built our complex that we live in now.
God, I remember that.
And it's just crazy, because me and my mom still talk about how, like, we literally not just remember that red barn sitting out here, probably where the parking lot and the green area is, but we also remember that when they were building this complex, we literally said at the time, we're like, guaranteed in 15 years, this place is going to be a slum. And boy, howdy, are me and my mom living it right now. We are literally living how spot on we were with that. Like, it's just ridiculous how fucking cheaply these remain.
My God, that was almost in a prediction, man. Jeez.
It was. Like, we didn't just predict it. We literally said it was going to. We knew it was, and we're living it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because we've lived here for 8 years. So we lived here through the 15-year period of age.
Wow.
And boy, is it bad now. Like, literally, that's a stressor for me. Is like, we don't know. We're probably going to start looking at moving somewhere else, because it's either that or a class action lawsuit with a bunch of our fellow inmates, I guess you could say. Rental inmates. Because it's just so many endless things that are just so slum level bad. It like should be illegal.
I hear you on that one, man.
So it's just quality of life's just so bad. It just keeps rapidly tanking here. So it's like, we might as well fucking move somewhere else. Like, there's no point in taking it this far.
I hear you on that one. I'm actually freaking moving as well.
The one cool thing, in a way, that's actually potentially beneficial about both of us moving soon, but especially him, he's guaranteed. We're not sure. is that we'll have a second place to be able to record episodes of the podcast in. So you won't have to look at this stupid couch or with a couch, this couch with the same blue sheet on it, because we only own one other blue sheet other than the one my mom uses on her bed, because I sleep on the futon mattress on the fucking floor with a blanket on it.
Exactly.
For a sheet. So like just for perspective, the bed is right there.
Exactly. The bed is literally it's right here. I'm looking at it.
Yeah, it's a 755 square foot 1-bedroom apartment. So somebody's got to sleep on the floor, and of course I obviously did that, because I'm not going to make my mom fucking sleep on the floor.
Well, no kidding.
What the hell? And yeah, like, it's just kind of crazy to think that, like, we'll have at least another place we could go, you know, record an episode or something, and maybe it'll actually look really good.
Actually, what I'm planning for the next place, yeah, it's gonna look really cool.
Snazzy.
It's gonna look really snazzy.
Eloquent. No, that's too far. That's gross. I'm gonna vomit. Eloquent. But yeah, so you know, I have these roots here, and it's just getting worse every fucking day here in Oregon. Yeah. It really is. Like, it's just such a cliche to believe and to insist that it's only these right-wing, nut jobs that fucking are hating on Oregon that are exaggerating it. And it's like the worst part, and this is the part I think one of the parts that hurts the worst for me, like actually genuinely hurts inside of myself, in my heart, is that they're actually not really exaggerating. Some of the time they are, but like most of them what they're saying, at least at the base level of what they're conveying, is actually dead accurate. And it's a lived experience for so many of us.
So the thing that drives me up a wall is that when it comes to this neighborhood right around here, there are people who take fentanyl around here. Loads of people that take fentanyl, and I mean it's very disturbing, and it's actually very dangerous.
You don't say.
Well, no kidding.
But like when it also gets bad enough to where everywhere you go, even in the country, but especially around various neighborhoods, certain police departments and EMS always carry like multiple Narcans. Sometimes they carry like entire packs of Narcan, because like bags full, because they never know how many they'll have to use on somebody to try to revive them and bring them back. And then obviously also, like, besides that, just how many people they'll run into that are doing the fentanyl bends, as they call it. That's why people a lot of times, if you pay any more attention to street level stuff, right, you'll hear the colloquial term the bends, and that's what they're referring to, is somebody who is clearly really knocked the fuck out on fentanyl. Because it literally, another one is zombification. They're like zombies, because they literally are. Like, you can't even talk to them or get through to them. Their eyes are glazed over. If they're even standing at that point, usually they're literally bent over. Like, their whole top half is just dangling at their feet. Even though they're technically standing, for some reason the legs always seem to stand up, and then the rest of them just bend over like a rag doll. It's really bizarre. It just doesn't, like a fucking wilted head of celery or something. Wow. You know what I mean? Just like, or like an elephant trunk that's held like this. It's just the strangest thing. But yeah, there is quite a bit of that, but that was especially its peak during the pandemic, which is also the peak of Measure 110, which I have a vendetta against, at least in terms of what 110 really represented and was from the state of Oregon and its legislature. Because I mean, I could go on for that forever about 110. Thank God it's repealed, but anybody could tell it was going to be repealed within the next major election cycle. It was going to be called for repeal, and people are going to repeal it because they didn't. Measure 110 wasn't what they claimed it to be, right? They're like, oh, this is for funding for the first step to then implement, the addiction treatment centers and the specialty mental health centers and everything, and programs, so that way, then the next round, once we establish that, would be to train and to hire the specialists, and then the third round would be to, set up the special housing for those people, right, and schools, and then from there, the last thing they're supposed to do, of course, right, if they did it correctly in the right order, is the very last thing, which is then the decriminalization of the hard drugs. they said that it was for that first step, right? And then what was it actually? To decriminalize the hard drugs. And that's literally all they did. And they did literally nothing else. That's what Measure 110 was actually all about, was just decriminalization. So they, instead of doing what they were supposed to fucking do, which is the reverse, you only ever decriminalize the drugs as your last step, once you have the full system completely established and ready to go. That's when you decriminalize it. Because you're fucking them over as much as you're fucking everyone else over.
Exactly.
Otherwise. And, you know, the irony is Portugal knew this, right? And that's who Oregon was claiming to copy. They had so many, like, multi-million-dollar trips, like 4 a year, to Portugal to study the model and see how it was going.
Wow.
And then all we get is Measure 110, which was just decriminalization of the drugs and leaving it alone. $130 million worth of tax money from taxpayers just to do that, and then let it proliferate. It's really, really disgusting. And especially considering, you know, my family has a lot of history with drug addiction.
Wow.
Because my eldest brother especially was a massively addictive personality, and his drug of choice was meth. He'd try anything. He'd do anything. But his drug of choice was always methamphetamine. Which, by the way, on that topic, I always want to make a point whenever people mention fentanyl, is that fentanyl is not anywhere close to the drug of choice in the Portland area. Even during its height of its use in the Portland area was not at all anywhere close to the top 3, actually. The drug of choice in Portland has always been methamphetamine. It's always been meth. And it's actually obvious to anybody, especially who walks down around Old Town or certain neighborhoods in Southeast or Northeast, you know. It's like you just see them, you see people tweaking. That's what tweakers are. They're meth addicts. They're people who are high on meth. They tweak, right? So that's where that term comes from. So if you hear somebody say that they're tweaking or it's a tweaker, they're referring to somebody who's high on meth. And it's very obvious when somebody's a heavy meth user, because, I mean, their body takes such a fucking toll because it's literally eating them from the inside out, dissolving them. That's what meth does. To where literally, if you don't have the sores, you at the very least you can tell on their face. It's kind of like when you spot somebody who you can immediately tell that's a Down syndrome person, like from afar, because you can just tell, because there's, for some reason, there's this very exact facial structure that's exclusive to them. That happens with the deterioration of somebody who's a heavy meth user. They get an exact look in their face and in their eyes. And it's like, you're a meth user. You've been a long time meth user. I can already tell. It's eaten you alive, you know? And then a lot of times you'll actually end up seeing their teeth and they're all fucking rotted and shit and stained like orange and brown and black. It's gross. Because they're literally rotting. Because they're literally dissolving and disintegrating from the inside out. Because that's what meth does. But that's the drug of choice in Oregon. And the reason why, especially in the Portland area, it's so big. The reason why is because every time, they do this every few years, the local news agencies will go around. They'll ask the homeless population, what is your drug of choice, or what drugs do you use, if they say that they're addicted or they're, they use drugs. And it's meth every single time. And they all have exactly the same reason, which is it's a self-defense mechanism. So basically, in other words, they need to stay awake all night so they can protect what little they fucking own and they have from each other. Or from the police throwing it away.
Wow.
Or a city worker throwing it away because they're homeless and you can't have that around, And so literally both government and also the / police and also the fucking other homeless people. It's literally to protect themselves and what little they own from each other and the police. It's fucking stupid and sad. It's really fucked up, That's why also I always get upset when people are like, like cops or whoever are like, you can't be here. It's like, in other words, you might as well just tell them you're not allowed, stop existing. Instead of yelling stop existing, just yell at them stop existing. Because that's literally what you're telling them is you cannot exist. Because they have to live somewhere. And they're going to choose a place where they have at least some semblance of, cover over their heads, preferably, which is why usually you'll find them under underpasses or in bushes or, places like that, because they're just trying to survive, even though a lot of them are addicts, not all of them. But like they're trying to fucking survive. And you're basically saying, go away. I don't want to see you because you're a burden. Stop existing. So you're literally telling them you can't live. That's what they're telling you.
So
because you can't live anywhere.
So I'll tell you this one, okay, man.
Yeah.
This actually goes into the stuff that is taught inside of Torah observance, actually, or better yet, is actually a big deal inside of the Torah itself.
Yeah.
The and I have to bring this out. The what is it called? Property in and of itself is given by fiat, essentially.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean by that,
The only way I know the term fiat is with fiat currency.
all right. So, but no, fiat in and of itself is basically something that is given by demand.
Okay. So you're saying is that the only way you get ownership of anything is if you demand something?
No, not necessarily. It's basically in demand in that regard, off deferment, essentially. It's in demand for every single person.
Right.
Basically, all right. So
It sounds like you're just talking about supply and demand.
all right. Basically, every single person inside of Torah observance, essentially, if they basically immigrate to the nation of Israel and at large, they are given rights to property. They don't pay for it. Yeah, they don't have to pay for it. Basically, it's just given by fiat.
Yeah, it's basically inheritance.
It's an inheritance, yes.
Yeah. Obviously, in the modern world, that doesn't really work.
No, in the modern world, that doesn't work.
Yeah, it would be cool if it did, because then nobody would be homeless, theoretically.
Exactly. Theoretically, no one would be homeless.
Which would be cool. And then if you could do that with, like, employment or something, that would be cool, too. So that way they have at least something they can do besides just simply exist within their house and their job.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, no kidding.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, yeah.
But it's interesting to me, and it makes sense to me. It was actually predictable to find out that it was the meth that was the drug of choice for homeless people especially, because what the hell else are they supposed to do? You know what I mean? Like,
Well, no kidding.
Also because of history, right? Because literally the reason why meth was created in the first place was by, Adolf Hitler and the Nazi scientists, Nazi Germany, to specifically try to keep his soldiers alert, awake, and energized for prolonged periods of time. So that way they had an advantage over anybody else's military. Obviously, that backfired pretty hard against them pretty quickly. And so now they needed something to make them crash so they could actually sleep. So they could actually regain some sanity and some composure so that way they could actually, function again. And then that's how they, like, further modified heroin.
Yeah, exactly.
It's basically to make it like a tranquilizer.
Yes.
But, that's the point being, though, is that, like, that if you take from history like that, where meth was invented, and why it was, if you think about it, it then automatically gives you your answer already to what you would expect them to say. And that's exactly what, the purpose of taking meth is for homeless people. And a lot of these people, when they first take it, they're taking it out of necessity and desperation in a way.
Yeah.
Because they don't really have another choice. But the issue is that it's an instant addiction. And it's not just a psychological addiction, it's a physical addiction. And when you have that combination, that's the worst kind of addiction you can have, because they are almost the most impossible to kick. It's actually fentanyl is a physical addiction. It's entirely physical. And the fucked up part about physical addictions is what it literally means what you probably think, which is that in other words, your body now thinks it requires it to function, to exist. So literally, that's why if somebody goes off of fentanyl, cold turkey, they'll almost inevitably fucking die, because their body now requires this addiction to be fed in order to continue to exist, or else they will just expire. They'll just stop existing because it's all physical addiction. It's really, really fucked up, and meth is kind of both. That's why it's so difficult to get people off of it. Plus, the worst part is that fentanyl, at least you have an overdose, an overdose solution, so to speak, or at least a hope that you can reverse somebody's overdose, even if they're pretty deep, if you have enough Narcan. With meth, you cannot help them. You cannot reverse it. If you go into an overdose on meth, you're basically guaranteed 100% death, because they basically, all they can do is what they call palliative care, which is basically just trying to comfort you. That's it. While you literally actively die of an overdose. It's fucked up. Like people sometimes will try things like Narcan on a meth that somebody knows overdose on meth, but that can also kill them too. Because it's not a combination you can use, you know? And actually, if people paid attention to like different police agencies in the state especially over the last like year and a half, 2 years, I think it's about 2 years, last 2 years straight now. They've been cracking down heavily on and doing tons of successful stings on drug houses and dens and manufacturers and so leaders of these drug groups in the state. And almost every fucking time, what do they always end up finding? The most of, by far, of all the drugs. Meth. Every single time. And it's wildly, substantially more in the amounts they find in every house, every fucking time they have. Than anything else. Like, sometimes it can be fentanyl second, but usually fentanyl's third behind meth and then actually heroin.
Huh.
And then if fentanyl's not third, it's fourth, and it's behind fucking cocaine, as you'd expect. So it's the standard big three hard drugs, street drugs, that Oregon's always had by far the most popular, even during the fentanyl thing. Like, even over opioids and opiates, because those are technically different, but similar. Yeah, they're like, because, the other O states, one of the other O states in Ohio is the poster child, along with West Virginia, for the opioid and opiate crisis and addictions. But Oregon's never really been on that list. I mean, we've always had it, but, actually the most common addiction in Oregon is gambling, which is funny because it actually adds up, because Oregon has such a strong and heavily advertised, and it's everywhere, our state lottery system, to where literally a lot of people don't realize this either. When they're like, oh, what is the state that has the biggest income from lottery or from gambling? And also, not only that, what state actually spends the most on gambling per capita? It's Oregon. Second is New Jersey. And then third is Nevada with Las Vegas. And that includes all their tourists, which is the majority of the people that play the lottery and gamble in Nevada are actually tourists to Las Vegas. Still, they're third place behind Oregon, and first, substantially ahead of New Jersey, and then New Jersey is just ahead of Nevada every fucking year. And the amount of that their citizens spend on gambling every year, and the amount the state lotteries make a year. So, like, quite literally, Oregon's actually the main gambling hub of the entire country, not Nevada. And New Jersey's close second. So late summer 2024, the state of Oregon finally, and it's about fucking time, opened it up legally to allow us or anybody to pump their own gas.
Wow.
It was always illegal up until that point. Now we still have attendance, but you can pump it on your own too. So you have a choice. And there's still so many people here, because they're born and raised Oregonians, they're like, this is the only thing they know, and they're genuinely paranoid about pumping their own gas.
Yeah.
So they love having the attendants still around at most gas stations. Before that point, when they finally legalized and opened it up to allow us to pump our own gas here in Oregon and New Jersey were the only two states in the entire country who made it illegal for people to pump their own gas. So that's another thing we shared in for the longest fucking time with New Jersey. And nobody likes New Jersey, okay? It's fucking New Jersey. No, Jersey. Fucking Jersey. Fuck New Jersey. Nah, yeah. People are talking about California or, Florida going off on their own islands or whatever, right? Like, yeah, let's cast them out. Everybody kind of agrees on that.
Yeah, let's just go.
Actually, it should absolutely be New Jersey and California together first. Get ejected from the continent. Out into the middle of the oceans, as isolated as possible, and then we just sink them with nuclear missiles and bombs, just bomb them into oblivion.
No, better yet, just
fuck those states.
Just blow off a small chunk of it, put a fence around it, so that way it's like Escape from New York or something.
That's so stupid. Anyway, that was a little bit of a sidetrack, but I thought it was kind of a fun fact. So
yeah, it was.
For me, like, one of the number one things that really makes me pissed off about the state, and this is really where the anger or the rant comes in for me.
Yeah.
Because I've had to watch this literal death spiral happen to our state since I was born, pretty much. And that is the economic corruption.
Oh, I hear
every
you.
Fucking level. It's so stupid. And the thing is that right now, it's all at once. All the economic corruption shit is coming out at once, all at the same time. So besides the ODOT thing, which is that we're suddenly in a I think it was like a $3.68 billion budget deficit for the next, set of 4 fiscal years. We're going to need another, I think it was they wanted $8 billion from us taxpayers to make sure they could stay afloat until the next Band-Aid, which would have, of course, been more, right? And throughout the whole history of this whole routine, it's, we promise that this is actually going to cover, and we're going to fix all the things we need to fix. We're going to replace the things like the bridges that we need to replace. Technically,
the re-bridges.
And they always promise it every time, and nothing ever happens.
No.
Every fucking time people here go and give them more billions, because it's always increasing by at least an average of, say, $2.5 billion every 3 to 5 years. They suddenly have another budget deficit in the billions, need that much more.
Wow.
And so, and this is literally, you can look at the history of this. This is a very, very clear track records for longer than I've been alive, but especially the last, I'd say, 15 years. Oregon does this really every 2 to 4 years, more than every 3 to 5. But especially the last 10 years, it's been every 2 to 4. ODOT's we have another budget shortage of billions. It's increased this time. And also we need another 2 to 3 billion more than we asked for last time. You're going to give it to us, and every time people had until this last time. November 2025 was one of those big election things. And it was a huge point for the states to be we really do have this deficit. We can't fund ODOT. We're going to have to cut half of its, I think it was literally 50% of all of its services back. We're going to have to sell off half of its assets, 60% of its assets. And that means it's maintenance buildings, it's maintenance vehicles, it's crews. It's going to have to lay off 50, 60% of its employees. We just don't have any money to function. And so here's this $8 billion, I think it was originally planned, $8.6 billion taxpayer funded, of course, transportation levy to not just fix fill the stopgap, but then also have some extra left over. And people finally learned their lesson, like they did in 2017 through 2020 with TriMet, their transportation bond measures, aka new max line funding, and or max extension funding. And then they learned their lesson, and they finally said, fine, we'll admit it. You're not getting a fucking penny from us. Fuck your stupid request. You can go into debt. We'll bankrupt ODOT if we have to. This is stupid. Because literally the mass majority of voters here were livid about the original proposal. Because it's well, fuck you. You're not going to make us pay that much more already, especially considering we have never seen any of the fixes, any of the replacements, any of the improvements that you promised us and that we've been demanding for over a decade in some of these cases. And so fuck you, because if we don't fund you, the same result's gonna be here anyway that we've already been experiencing each of the times. We already handed you billions of dollars each time. And you're just going to come back, even if we did it 3 to 4 years later, and ask us for more. With even more than you asked for this time. And billions more, Fuck you. This is, because it's a theme, right? It's repetition of history. So you have a track record, and we're just fuck you.
We need more. They've become the gimmies, essentially.
There's no such thing as enough to them. Nothing will ever be enough to government when it comes down to taxation, obviously, or fees for that matter, because again, they were also, if it wasn't just enough to raise taxes, they had to add new taxes. They also had to add new fees and increase pre-existing fees for all sorts of things, especially the DMV, and it's just infuriating. And they still want to do that. They're still trying to force through the tolls on all the freeways.
In a manner of speaking, what they sort of remind me of? What was it called? The little orphan child Oliver saying, "Please, sir, can I have some more?"
No, that's not even really an apt description, because you have to involve a weapon of mass destruction in it, with them sticking it into your spinal column and being you're gonna fucking give us the money. And then we're just nah. You can take our spine. Fuck you. We don't need it anyway to stand up to you, you piece of shit. But yeah, and then of course, obviously after that was staunchly rejected and everybody was voicing how much they were in opposition to it, the legislature rejected it because they can't get away with forcing something through that nobody wanted, right? Like they want to be able to do that, they can't, because people are way too active and vocal on that one. So they're like, okay, fine, we'll reject it. And then the special, Tina Kotek, sport tampon or tampon in chief, Governor Tina Kotek, she called a special legislative session because there had to be something done for at least for a stopgap funding for ODOT, because obviously you can't technically allow, if you're in government, you can't technically allow an entire department to just shut down, especially when it's necessary and required to exist, you know. So she holds a special legislative session. Basically there was all sorts of proposals and different ideas, and there was a lot of auditing going on, especially from the Republicans on our side. And I say our side as in, Oregon. And they found out that like ODOT, there's just some weird clause legally and loophole in the state that has the state preventing ODOT from accessing over $1 billion of their own funding each year. Infuriatingly and illogically, there's literally there's a legal clause that says this is your funding, ODOT, but you can never access it. You're not allowed to touch this. And so there's $1 billion or more dollars, basically over $1 billion every fucking year that just goes into the ether because it's never used. So it just expires. That's $1 billion of taxpayer money in Oregon that just stops existing because of this weird clause that says you can't, I'm not touching you. It's fucking bullshit. It's there to be looked at as a symbol of what you could access, but you're not allowed to. It is yours, but you're not allowed to have it or interact with this or use it. It's always locked behind a gate. It's so fucking bullshit. And so that's one of the things the Republicans figured out, and they're like, get rid of it. So they can have access to their own $1 billion+ in funding every year that they don't currently have access to, even though it's their funding. Get rid of this fucking clause. That's one of their big solutions that they propose, and that makes perfect sense because that's $1 billion accounted for or more. Billion and a half. Okay, cool. We accounted for that. That's that much less that we have. That we have to even consider potentially challenging our citizens to pay for. From there, you have. I think it was a week into the special legislative session, right? Tampon in chief Tina decided to propose her own. Of course it's her own, right? Her own transportation funding package, which was like $4.6 billion. So it was like half the amount originally. And it only was meant as a stopgap because it was only enough supposedly to be a stopgap, basically a little plug in a leak, in a much bigger leak, right? So in other words, we're going to have to request billions more from you in about 2 years because it's only enough to cover 2, maybe 3 years as a stopgap. So yeah, and then if you look at the articles and you look at everything they said, and then you look at the instant visceral response, I mean, if you thought everyone was riotously, righteously, vehemently angry and livid at the state for such a proposal for the original transportation funding package, you should have fucking seen that. Instantaneous, did not matter. It was bipartisan disposition. Everybody was wanting fucking blood for that one. And I'm not kidding you. It's not an exaggeration to say that. Every person, voter or non-voter in this state, was fucking wanting basically Tina Kotek's head on a pike. They wanted blood with that proposal because it was one of the most intensely insulting, stupid proposals you could possibly imagine when it comes down to how she was going to fund that. And it just made everyone equally livid, as it should have, and I was happy to see that. And so there's that. So that doesn't pass, and then this special legislative session expires, right? And then guess what happens? A week after it expires and they're no longer in legislative session, Tina Kotek's tampon forces her own budget, her own ODOT funding through, her own transportation funding through. She forced it through on her own outside of legislative session. Outside of the emergency session, for that matter. That's what emergency session is when you don't get something that has to be decided on during the normal legislative sessions. Wow. And therefore they're in recess. It calls all the legislators back to the state, in this case the state capitol, to then basically compromise and come to a decision on it, and thus so they can, in this case, fund something that needs to be funded no matter what. And that's what a special legislative session is. So normally they'd be in recess, they'd be at home, they'd be on vacation, whatever, but instead they're back in the state capitol so they can decide on this. That's what that is. they also, just like the citizens, were rejecting it harshly. Tina's proposal. They didn't come to any decision. Nobody could make a compromise that anyone was accepting of. So nothing passed. There was just no funding to be had. And then she, a week after that, forces it through illegally.
Wow.
Because it has to be voted on by the legislature. She put it through on her own anyway. And then she tried through the media to make it sound like she did it. They passed it during the legislative session, the emergency session, when everyone knows they fucking didn't. And so that's why,
you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah. And so that's why, you know, that's a whole thing. And then obviously as of recently, as of I think like 2 to 3 weeks ago, it became this huge headline that she's panicking now because she wants to repeal it, her own funding package, because
she's realizing that
she realizes how bad of a fuck up it is, and odds are is that, you know, she's gonna absolutely be eviscerated coming next election for
next election
governorship.
She's gonna be eviscerated.
And so as a result, she's like fuck. But not only is she counseling, she's trying to repeal it, begging to repeal it and counsel it, her own thing. She wants to do it with everything else that had bipartisan support for transportation related things. So like there's like in the state constitution, there's going to be new added language that's specific to the new wording and subtext for how the tolling is supposed to work before it goes in, obviously. So that way, basically it adds a lot more economic protections, especially to the citizens, and adds more rights to them to be able to reject it if they really don't want it. Or after a while, you know, remove it or whatever, right?
Dude,
so basically, and also decide the budget, right? That had bipartisan support, not just in the voter base, but in the legislature. So that went through. They were going to pass that through in that session, in the normal session that last year. And then on top of that, they were also going to, there was trucking reform. So protect truckers more, you know, not the trucking companies, but to give the truckers a lot more rights, better pay, you know, and more protections on the road.
Wow.
That also bipartisan support, both voters and legislation. That was supposed to go through because it went through in the normal session of the legislature last year. And then there's a bunch of more related things like that, right? But she said she wants to make it seem like it's only for her funding package, but everybody and their dead grandmother knows that's a fucking lie. She's trying to fucking repeal that and everything else that was actually voted on and by both the voters and the legislature to pass with bipartisan support in any relation to transportation. She wants everything repealed. So she's being even more nefarious and aggressive about it because why though? Like it doesn't even tactically doesn't make any sense in terms of PR. Like it's even worse. It's more moronic for her. And that's just one aspect of Oregon's massive economic corruption, right? Because recently I read this article. I actually recorded a video on it. I haven't bothered editing it, but it's very personal to me, and it pissed me off, especially considering what the two DAs, Mike Schmidt of Multnomah County and Kevin Beacon, I think it is, of Washington County.
Not Bacon? Kevin Bacon?
I know that's why you were laughing, yeah. I think it was Beacon or something like that. Anyways, very close to Bacon or Beacon. The DAs of Multnomah and Washington County. And they made this joint press statement together about how Oregon's courts and justice system is broken beyond repair, and nobody at all, especially in the state government, wants to do anything to try to fix it.
Oh, you're kidding.
Look in the motherfucking mirror, you piece of shit.
No,
seriously, like, are you fucking kidding me? You're gonna really use this as a way to try to prop yourself up to the public? Be like, look at me, I care so much. That's why I'm only saying this, but I'm not actually gonna do anything. And if you're familiar, and I love this because 9 days from today, I'm supposed to be on jury duty for Washington County under obviously therefore Kevin. I have such a big axe to grind. It's disgusting, especially after this article, because not only did they fucking say that shit, okay, but in it, and I didn't know this, and I wish it was so easily public knowledge to everybody for a long time. I didn't know this. Apparently in Oregon Oregon is the state that pays the highest per capita every fucking year, over $300 million, into their public defense fund.
Oh, wow.
For public defenders. And yet, the claim is, of why it's so broken, and cases keep getting thrown out, is because of the fact that there's a judge at the top of the state level, who ruled that there's a 60-90 day rule, where if you cannot secure a potential criminal a public defender within 60 days for misdemeanors or 90 days for felonies, all of the charges just get dropped, disappear, and they're released automatically, completely free.
In other words, it literally could be that they... Hold it. What if the person decides to not get an attorney?
If they decide not to get an attorney, technically they represent themselves, or the state will appoint the one for them.
Wow.
So technically the public defender is a state-appointed attorney. They can request that, or they the state will do it automatically. That's not what
I'm asking. I'm asking, what if the guy who committed the act itself, what if they didn't, what if they decide to not find a defense attorney?
That's what I'm saying, is that the state automatically gives you one. Because you're required to have one. Sometimes, in certain contexts, it usually seems more civil-based, so not criminal-based. You can represent yourself, but it almost always backfires horrifically. Anyway, the point being, right, is that we're the state who pays, by far, the most every fucking year into the public defender system. So that there's always a sufficient amount of public defenders. They claim that there's no such thing as enough public defenders in the state at all. And that's why there's, get this, 900, and it was over 900, I know that. Over 900 felony cases got dropped this month in Multnomah County alone. Also, just one county, 900 felony cases that had yet to be processed that got dropped. But anyway, seriously, think about that. They didn't give the exact number, unfortunately, but a total of over 1,500. That's 1,500 felony cases got dropped because they hit that 90-day threshold. That's a lot of felonies, by the way. And in that article, they also emphasized that apparently a large portion of these felonies, the point of emphasis for dropping them, if they don't hit that 30-day or that 90-day threshold for getting a public defender that they're supposedly short on, even though they spend by far the most every fucking year per capita of any state, again, by far, and over $300 to $350 million a fucking year into the public defender system in the state. They're supposedly constantly shorthanded to where all this keeps happening every 90 days. Thousands of felonies in just one metro area alone get dropped. Imagine that. And then they emphasize that strangulation and firearms and weapons, violent weapons crime, felonies, and, aggravated DUIs and related things like that. Those are the ones they emphasize as the ones that they're going to drop. And they have been dropped because for some reason those apparently aren't as bad as anything else, even though technically at least strangulation easily could also be construed and argued legally and colloquially to be considered attempted murder. Holy shit, dude. It's fucking inexcusable. And one of the other things about that, and then not just expense per year, but also mentioning them mentioning that, and then mentioning the fact that they claim that there's a shortage of public defenders, which therefore indirectly them basically proving that it can't be possible or shouldn't be possible. It turns out, including according to these two DAs, Kevin and Mike of Multnomah, or Washington and Multnomah County respectively, mention and point out the fact that apparently there is hundreds of millions at least flowing into and through the justice system of Oregon every fucking year that genuinely has never been able to be tracked. As in, they don't know where it goes. It just disappears. They outright admit that the state loses track of upwards of potentially $500 million in taxpayer funds a year just in our justice department, our court systems of the state of Oregon alone. Think about that. That's infuriating. It appears Shaun decided he has to eat as well, because he's abandoned me and he's in the kitchen fussing about. And I would think, especially me as saying that last part, he wants to say something, but he's too busy. He's too busy commentating to his stomach instead.
Yeah, I'm too busy commentating to my stomach right now. What can I say?
So, like, that's a second department and a second portion of our government that is unaccountable, especially economically. They have no funds. There's a direct contradiction to how much they spend per year, especially compared to their counterparts of all other 49 states in the country, in the union, compared to how much Oregon spends every year for just the public defense funding alone. Just for, obviously, ourselves, Oregon. And somehow there's the discrepancy that there's not enough public defenders ever to where thousands of felonies alone get dismissed every 90 days, every month and a half in the state.
That's freaking insane, man.
And obviously that proves something. It proves they're fucking lying somewhere. Because if you're spending that much, and yet you never have enough public defenders,
there's something wrong.
Yeah. Especially considering how unprosecutorial Oregon, especially sociopolitically, tends to be. Where, like, judges oftentimes, and even DAs oftentimes, will just be like, nah, we don't want to prosecute. It's not a high enough profile crime or something. And it's just like, bro, I get not wanting to feed the incarceration system so much that you have, again, like the U.S. is known for, an overflow of inmates. But, like, especially for petty crimes, I can sort of get it. But at the same time, there has to be some sort of repercussion that actually makes them think twice before they do something stupid again.
Well, no kidding.
It's just, it's infuriating.
It is.
And this is personal for me, especially because, again, I think I mentioned this in an episode before. My mom on November 16th of 2025 was assaulted by a random homeless woman who was admittedly tweaking out, so she was high on meth. But she had her coherent moments when it mattered most criminally and legally, which is she kept reciting, and we know this because of the witnesses we had of our neighbors around. And one of them who actually literally saved probably my mom's life, who ironically the court system and the police are very intimately familiar with him. Probably saved my mom's life, and everybody who witnessed it that we know that are our neighbors personally were mentioning that she kept saying the same thing over and over, proving coherency at some level and degree, and obviously intent at a very clear degree, which is that she had the intent to not just maim my mom, but to kill her. And in fact, they all said she indicated that she probably was so intent on meeting me, thank God she didn't, but so intent on meeting me because she wanted to kill me too. She was very clear and concise and repetitive about that apparently as well. And yet, the Washington County DA and the judges only are willing to charge her with a 4th-degree misdemeanor assault. And you know, the higher the number and degree, the lower the charge is, or the lower the severity is considered. So it's not just considered a misdemeanor somehow, it's considered a 4th-degree misdemeanor, which I believe is probably in the state of Oregon the lowest level misdemeanor you can get. And that's all they're willing to charge this woman with, who attacked her, with the intent to kill. They know that, or they would have known that if they fucking did their due diligence, the police, and took the fucking witness statements, written witness statements at the time. They never did that. They didn't even collect all the evidence. They didn't take pictures of the evidence, including the toilet brush that was used in the assault, which is admittedly kind of funny. Like, you were assaulted with a toilet brush. Kind of hilarious, not gonna lie. Anyway, imagine me murdered with a toilet brush. I would cackle at that. I would be, if I got murdered by somebody with a toilet brush, and it was the toilet brush that did me in, I would fucking be cackling beyond the grave. I'd be genuinely proud of myself for having that. Wow. Put that on my fucking gravestone. That's a badge of honor, motherfucker. It's so fucking absurd. I want this for myself. But anyway, no, I don't obviously want to be murdered, but you get the idea. They also have the medical report, which again, my mom does not like to go to hospitals, even with Obamacare. So technically it's Oregon Health Authority, which is technically Obamacare. That's a whole different story for a different day about, again, how fucking irresponsible and incompetent Oregon is, including with more money. Different story, different day. It's actually quite hilarious. And John Oliver, when he first started his Last Week Tonight show, I believe did an episode on it, talking all about that. And it was really just from one commercial. It was so atrociously bad. It's actually in internet lore forever for how like hilariously, memeably horrible it was. And a non-functional website. So even with that, she doesn't like going to a hospital because she doesn't think she can afford it if they decide to charge her for something. Understandably, everyone else is pretty much in that boat too. To where she's considering if she ever fills out an AD, she somehow doesn't fill out an AD yet. I don't think she probably ever will at this rate. But so advanced directive is what that's called. But if she fills it out, she's considering putting do not resuscitate on it as well, because she just rather just apparently die because it's cheaper that way. It's still expensive as fuck because death industry is a real thing in the US, but tens of thousands of dollars on us probably, but like it's everything about that's corrupt and fucked up, but different story. The point being, is that you have to really rattle her to get her to be willing to even consider going, and she fucking went to the hospital in an ambulance.
Wow.
To the emergency room directly. She was in there for like 2-3 hours before I was able to get her back out. I did not sleep at all that night because it happened to just right after I went to bed, like probably 20 minutes, 30 minutes after that, maybe an hour almost. I'd say it's probably 20, 30 minutes though. And her assault happened like just before 4.
Wow.
Like 3:40 in the morning. And I did not sleep at all that night. I just immediately, as soon as I could, went down there, got their statements. I was basically doing what the police are supposed to do, making sure I wrote down a record as well of everything that they witnessed and everything that they know. Doing the police's work, basically, that they didn't do. And then went down immediately thereafter to the hospital, of course, to, visit my mom / make sure she was actually okay, see how far the extent was. She had her, thank God it wasn't her left arm, actually, but, because it's her primary hand, just like mine is. But, they broke her right humerus, like just 2 inches below the shoulder joint. Yeah. So the humeral head, if you will, got it broken clean through. Complete open fracture. And so she's still obviously healing from that and dealing with that, going to physical therapy multiple times a week, so on and so forth, because that's impacted that. It's impacted actually my life quite a bit too. So technically, in a way, even my therapists are like, you're obviously a victim in this as well. Like my mom's like, you're obviously a victim in this. Even if it's indirect, it screwed me up for at least a good month for a while, and it still kind of has me a little bit off kilter. But, so anyway, you have all of that happening, and so I have that personal experience there, especially considering the DA's office. So, Good old Kevin, who's acting like he's doing something about it, and he wants something done, and he's so serious about making sure that victims get, their help and their aid or whatever, and they get their right to justice in their day in court, and whatever. His office never called my mom back, not once. She called them so many fucking times. She left them voicemails, nothing. The entire time, like immediately after, pretty much all the way through. The Victims Advocate Office, which is also of Kevin, it's also of the DA, the Washington County DA, the Victims Advocacy Office. She would call them.
Wow.
Very frequently, sometimes multiple times a day, leave them voicemails. Never got back to her, nothing. And they never called her either to update her on anything, and the court never called her for her fucking day that she was supposed to have, where she actually could finally sit in on the final verdict for this assailant's trial.
Wow.
Which was actually going to be a combined trial for all 3 counties and all of her endless rap sheet she had pending in court. Right?
Sheesh.
And they also, again, they catch and release this woman. And so in other words, what a catch and release is in the United States means is that they just, no matter what the level of the crime is, they just put you in custody, take you to jail, get your picture, get your name in the system, process it, put you back on the street. That's what catch and release is. That's what they did with this woman. They knew she had the intent to potentially kill. So she had what's called, obviously, assault with intent to cause great bodily harm, is what that's called. And obviously, therefore, she did already have assault with causing great bodily harm because she broke my fucking mom's arm clean through. She never got called for that day because she had such a rap sheet, including they knew she was escalating. This woman was getting worse and more severe in her crimes and the endangerment to the public. Because she had racked up a bunch of felonies. Like, that should have been one of the felonies, and somehow it wasn't. My mom's assault. Nevertheless, which is also corruption and injustice. Especially considering they don't let you have your day in court. You get 50 seconds is what they gave my mom. 50 fucking seconds over the phone, so just voice, on one of the court dates to give her victim impact statement. Even 2.5 minutes should not be enough to give a full and actual true legitimate detailed victim impact statement. Like that, the way the court legalese are outlined to be at all levels, whether it's a municipal level in one state or it's the national federal level, is that you have to not only have your day in court, but when you're giving your impact statement, it has to be detailed. They want as much detail as possible. They want to know every last impact they've had on you. And if you don't do that, then they'll throw out the case that way because you're not taking it seriously as a victim, right? Which makes some sense. So, it forces involvement, right? Well, the court doesn't let her get involved. She doesn't have her own fucking assault record. She doesn't have the record of the police. She doesn't have the police report. Jeez. She's never gotten the police report. And so it's infuriating and personally for me because of that. And because it shows that the DA is not serious about anything he said. And the public statements, he's not serious about it in the article. He's not serious at any level. Because if he was, he's a pathological liar, like any other politician. Because if he was serious, we wouldn't be experiencing this. Especially considering this woman has had her own public dedicated defense attorney for years. So her defense attorney's always there. And even though she's also, by the way, on their record, this is another reason why I mentioned the catch and release, is that you get your day in court, basically. So she gets her court mandate, right? She gets her date for the first trial for the assault. Okay, cool. The issue is that she's bail jumped, like at least 4 or 5 different times on her record. And then on top of that, not only is she bail jumped, she's also fucking just not showing up to court. So now she has warrants out for arrest for a failure to appear. And she has like 10 plus of those at the time of what was, I believe, the 3rd court date, which was the only time that my mom got to be in on the court date at all. And according to them, every court trial thing was each day, because they have a full docket every single day. Yeah. And it's for a limited amount of time. I think it's like 2 hours. Yeah. And so they have a bunch of them every day for that 2-hour period that they have to file through. And so you get each court date or court case gets, I think it's literally 5 minutes max, is what they allow in Washington County Court. And so you get 5 minutes, that's it, for the full thing. And you got to go, and we got to get to the next person and the next case. And then repeat. So 50 seconds was all, technically a max of a minute is all a victim's allowed to have to say or do anything. And it's only for the victim impact statement, quote unquote. That's it. And that's the only time she got it. And then the 4th date, again, was when all 3 counties and their attorneys were going to merge all of her cases together. Because like I said, she has a rap sheet longer than Manhattan. She really does. Like, it's not an exaggeration. She has a ridiculously long rap sheet of pending fucking cases. Pending. Sheesh. That's not including all the rest of the shit that she's actually already been charged with or been gone through the whole court system for. And so they're intimately familiar with her at all 3 county courts as well, and city courts, municipal courts. And despite all of that, meaning that you can't claim the fucking district attorney or the public defender issue with her, she was always represented. She was always there. They always brought her in, With this 4th case, by the way, this the final day, the final court for her appearance, merging all of them, including my mom's assault, together. That was the big day. That was the day that you're supposed to have a dedicated, who knows how many hours, however long it takes to make a determination, right? We don't even know if that day even happened because they didn't even call us. And mind you, the assistant district attorney and also the victim's advocates at the DA's office for Washington County had told my mom that the reason why she wasn't being called, apparently, and I know this is bullshit, is because the DA's office, has to give a mandate to the judge presiding over the case to let you even be involved as a victim at all. So if you want to have your say and you want to have your day in court as a victim to stand up for yourself, you have to call the DA's office, which, remember, they don't fucking answer. They don't respond back to voicemails, no matter how hard you try. They're never going to do it. In our experience, that's proof, because she tried for like a month straight. Never got through. And they never got back. So, what does that prove? It's impossible as a victim to be a victim in Washington County. Because you're never going to get your day in court. Because you're not pretty much allowed to. Because you have to get a hold of the DA to give a mandate to a judge, which I know isn't the way it's supposed to be, to let you fucking have your day in court as a victim of a crime in Washington County Court.
Wow.
To the extent that you can't contact them in the first place, because they'll never fucking answer the phone. Not even the victim's advocates do. And they'll never respond back to your voicemails. So in other words, no matter how hard you advocate for yourself, and you should not, as a victim of a crime, have to advocate that fucking hard to where you have to go to bat for yourself with the fucking district attorney's office. And then also make sure you know that you have to ask them for a fucking mandate for the judge to allow you to have your day in court as a victim, to stand up for yourself, or to give your impact statement, to say, well, how what you know happened. Dude, your side of the story.
Dude.
It's fucking horseshit. Now, on top of that, and again, remember, this is why I was also emphasizing that this assailant, with a rap sheet longer than Manhattan, always had her attorney right fucking there. So it can't claim it's a district or it's a public defender shortage, like they're trying to say, right? That already proves further discrepancy with that story. But on top of that, the reason why I emphasize that, and then also emphasize how it's the exact opposite if you're a victim of a crime, is that my first time getting called for jury duty, and going through the jury selection process as Group B, was for a special trial. That's a lot of times for what is known as, murder trials and stuff. This was a fucking arraignment trial to arraign somebody and the jury's to decide if this person's guilty of premeditated fucking murder of his roommate.
Jeez.
And supposedly best friend, ironically. And I'm pretty confident that after that trial, it went pretty quick and he got convicted on premeditated murder, because he had multiple eyewitnesses pretty much, and people that knew them because they're neighbors, they're in a busy apartment complex, that literally saw it happen and knew what was fucking going down. Like they already had a sinking feeling, and then it happened, that day happened, and he premeditated murdered his supposed best friend, who was his roommate. Wow. And that motherfucker was in the courtroom at the defense table during our jury selection process. So, the jury selection process for his trial for premeditated fucking murder to decide if he was actually guilty of it or not. For that, he was in the room, in the courtroom with us, being selected for his trial.
Wow.
Or his jury for murder at the defense table, without any chains, without any shackles, no cuffs, no jumpsuit, normal street clothes like this. Sheesh. All by himself, no police, no extra police presence, no extra security, just your normal two police officers posted at the entrance and exit to the courtroom. That was it.
Wow.
Completely normal security. For premeditated murder.
Sheesh.
But if you're a victim, maybe even of murder, or attempted murder, because obviously you can't represent yourself in court, or you can't stand up for yourself in court if you're fucking dead. But let's say premeditated murder. Clearly, you're fucked. You're not going to have your day in court at all, probably, if you're in Washington County, Oregon, because fuck us, I guess. But if you're the criminal, you have the best representation in the world. Notice how that feeds further into the discrepancy and proving it's a lie that Oregon has a public defender shortage. It can't be possible if you're the state spending by far the highest amount every year into your own state's funding for public defenders, and yet every criminal, no matter how severe their crime is, gets automatic representation to where they get the fucking red carpet rolled out for them, full freedom and privilege to just sit by themselves at a table in the courtroom for their own selection of their own jury determining their fate in their life going forward, as if they're guilty of, in this case, murder.
Wow.
Not just murder, premeditated murder, which makes it so much worse. Because that means you literally premeditated it. You thought it through, you planned it, you knew what you were going to do ahead of time.
Wow.
Like, that's the worst kind of murder you can pretty much have outside of serial killing. And, like, somehow,
Sheesh.
you can be a free man. No sign that you are on trial for this during your own jury selection process.
Sheesh.
But God forbid you're a victim. The DAs won't even contact you, nor the victim's advocate office of the DAs will contact you. You won't even get your day in court. Fucking think of that, suck on that for a while. That's why I'm actually kind of anticipating going there, because I'm gonna read them the fucking riot act. I'm gonna make sure they send me home, but not before I finish my fucking riot act reading. I'm gonna make sure that everyone hears
They're
and everyone knows that you do not ever draw my name again. If you do, you fucking put it away permanently, because I'm not going to be intoxicate myself with your fucking toxicity and bullshit, your corruption, your lies. You can fuck yourself. I'm not going to be a part of that. Like, I want to be a part of something that's actually justified and defensible and good, that actually helps people. That doesn't help. This fucks people over. You know, like, if I get disorderly conduct, I'll challenge it. Because I mean, like, no, I should be able to speak my fucking mind when it's a concern of everybody who lives in our fucking community and our county. This is a whole county-wide problem, because we all have to go through this fucking court and this DA and office and judges. So no, you can't say, oh, I'm in contempt of court or I'm fucking disorderly, because I'm not. Am I hopping mad? Yeah. Am I gonna keep reading you the fucking riot act and tell it to your face how fucking corrupt and fucked up you are? Yes. Because I have that freedom and I have that right with the First Amendment to fucking do that to your face and let you know you're fucking up and I'm calling it out. And I want people to know. Because everyone who lives here has a fucking right to know that they're damned if they're a victim. And apparently if they're a criminal, well, they get treated like fucking royalty, apparently.
Dude, honestly, man, actually, that whole sentiment in that regard, I know what you mean, and I'm just going to say 2 words. Sam Adams.
The gay mayor has nothing to do with this, okay?
No, bullshit! Bullshit, okay?
It was like this well before him. It was.
Yes, I understand that, but for crying out loud, man, I'm sorry, man.
Get me a gay mayor. If you're from California, especially Northern California, you know that that's what us Oregonians always did. Every single time we went down there while Sam Adams was the mayor of Portland, is we just and we never ordered a Samuel Adams or Sam Adams.
Yeah.
We always ordered a
gay mayor.
We did exactly that. We went,
Give me a gay
pound
mayor.
the counter and get me a gay mayor. And every time they knew exactly what we were talking about. It never had to be explained. They immediately just were like,
it didn't have to be explained. No, but the fact is, though, man, I'm sorry. The
windbag.
The windbag. He basically committed statutory rape, for crying out loud. Do you see him rotting in jail?
No, obviously not. It's akin, actually, that's similar to any politician literally ever. No, I think about it, but that proves that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
But it's here in Oregon, and also,
well, yes, but it's coincidentally, because
True.
You could go anywhere in the country, take your fucking pick. None of them are ever held responsible for jack shit.
Well, no kidding. Epstein is a great example.
Right now is a great example. Yeah, same with Reagan, or not? Yeah, well, Reagan with his shit, but also Nixon.
Yeah.
With Watergate. Now he didn't get held responsible for shit. Hillary Clinton and her bullshit with Libya and Benghazi, nothing, of course.
Nothing.
Like, if you're a politician, you're in an exclusive club, like George Carlin said. It's a big club and you ain't in it.
Yeah.
But they got you by the balls.
Yeah.
Yep. And they do. That's the fucking stupid shit about it. And the Epstein stuff further proves the point, right? Like, even with the supposed extremist conspiracy theories, like me, I've spouted for years. I that's why I put the quotes around it, because it's been blatantly obvious fact for a long time. I said that all the people, whether celebrities or big technocrats or, you know, billionaires or fucking, you know, world leaders, quote unquote, aka puppets or politicians, for the richest of the rich, you know, they're all in this one big club who runs the entire world. Your votes have never counted for shit, especially since I'd say like 1950 or 60. It's just it's all symbolic. It's all for show to make you think. That's why it's called a puppet show, to make you think you have power and a voice, and you don't.
In other words, they are the puppet masters.
Yep, and your favorite politician and party is all nothing but puppets.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fucking stupid. So that's why they're all in on it. It's the same thing with, like, why do you think that, especially after Reagan instituted the aggressive tactics of, you know, anti-drug policy or whatever, and the anti-cartel thing, all of a sudden, instead of going down, drug addiction went way the fuck up, and the drug trafficking skyrocketed, and so did all the drug supply into the country went way out the fuck up. Accessibility to being able to, the supplies to make the drugs was skyrocketed.
Well, no kidding.
Why do you fucking think that happened?
Ooh.
You know? It's because, you know, the thing that's supposed to stop it, the DEA, is literally the world's biggest fucking cartel, is what it is. What it was about wasn't to stop it, it was to monopolize it. So that the government had yet another fucking stupid fund, and also yet another way to control the population. And also potentially opponents if somebody decided to slip ranks in their group, in their exclusive club.
No
so
kidding.
that they had something to weaponize, you know? And it's the same thing with human and child and thus sex trafficking. It's the same thing. The government, it's always constantly gone way up. Especially with all the big events, including government events. Why do you think that is all around the world? Because who do you think the biggest fucking human trafficking ring is and cartel is?
No kidding.
Also the DEA, also the CIA, also the NSA, also CPB or CBP, the you know, what do you call it? Customs and Border Patrol, FBI, you know, all of them. They are the biggest cartel of all the sex and human trafficking shit. All of the drug trafficking shit, all of the things that they claim they're against, the only reason why it keeps getting bigger and bigger and why more and more of them keep coming out to be involved in it is exactly because it's always been that way. You know, like, it's just that Reagan really made sure that it solidified and it really became a true monopoly for the government of the United States, because you control that. Guess what else you do? You're controlling the fucking people, because you're also controlling the victims. You're controlling also the creation of the victims, the scouting of the victims. You're creating the addicts. You're creating everything. You know what I mean? And how easily controlled are you now?
No kidding.
You know, like, and that's why so many victims, a lot of times, of especially sex trafficking, especially when they're kids and now they're adults, they never come out, because especially of bigger rings like the governments, like involved in Epstein, is because they know they're probably going to suddenly be conveniently found dead or committing suicide if they actually truly fight to expose what's going on, because they know they're as good as dead if they do that. Like, it's not a threat, it's a fact. They will fucking be cold if they fucking stand up and they actually reveal too much. They know that, you know? It's the same way it's always been. You can consider it dystopic paranoia, but it's reality, and it's the most fucked up unfortunate fact about that, you know? So yes, the corruption is universal around the world, but especially in the United States, I'd swear it's one of the worst. But, like, you got to add to that that aspect that, you know, getting back to the Oregon aspect, is that, you know, those are just two of the ways that it's all super corrupt, you know, especially again, it's always economics for some reason.
Exactly.
The interstate bridge replacement, which is Oregon and Washington, obviously, and that's the Federal Transportation Administration as well. So it's the feds equally with both state governments and their, you know, WSDOT and, or I like to call it just WADOT, and, or ODOT, Oregon, you know. That thing's so fucking corrupt, it's insane. And now they're like, all of a sudden, for a moment, a blip of time, when those articles and the leaks came out about it being from 2022, yeah, so 3.5 years ago, 2022, December 2022, their cost estimate for it was $6.5 billion.
Wow.
Now it's $17.7 billion. But they were trying to hide and withhold that, because they knew how much backlash, even more, that would create against them. Because nobody's going to want to give them that money for that shit. Nobody wants the bridge or the light rail in the first place over the river. So like, what are you fucking doing, right? And so that's why the rats, like Greg Johnson, who was the administrator of it, the leader of it, jumped ship in October because he saw the writing on the wall in blood, and he's like, I got to get the fuck out of here while I still can collect my last paycheck and no longer like make it somebody else's problem once it hits the fan. And the leak then happens in I think January, like the beginning of January, I believe it was, and 17.7 billion, to where even the media is still trying to play it off in their favor by going with the median amount, which is their official estimate, which is 13.6 billion, as if that makes it any better, because it's over 2 times the amount that it was 3.5 years ago. And it's like a lot of legislators are like, well, it's dead in the water already, no pun intended. It's literally dead in the water. Like the bridge has already collapsed.
It's gone the way of the dodo, and it died.
And it's poignant to mention because that's another aspect of the deep corruption economically of the state, because they've also spent, if you combine it with the CRC, which is technically its predecessor, and technically it is just a rebrand, really, a rebadging of
quote unquote
CRC, the Columbia River Crossing, which everyone fucking hated. That lasted also 8 years. IBR is on its 8th year right now. As of this year, and the CRC collapsed in on itself on the 8th year because, again, the same exact kind of bullshit. Like, they realized how much money they had spent already, and then how it didn't go anywhere, how nobody liked it or wanted it anyway, how it was egregiously offensive to everybody in both states and the areas, because it's like, you're not going to fucking do a freeway expansion, fuck you. You're not going to pull the light rail, the yellow line across the river, fuck you. Fuck this, But instead of actually truly closing up shop, of course, they rebranded to IBR, Interstate Bridge Replacement Project.
Yeah.
And we have that now in its 8th year. Conveniently, the cost leak happens. It's actually more likely 18 billion, obviously, which is their high end. And it's like, so that's what, 5 times more than it was 3.5 years ago? And it doesn't fucking include the yellow line max light rail you're trying to force across the river either, which will obviously cost multi-billions itself, because it's technically a separate right-of-way, separate bridge. It's a separate project because it's TriMet. Like, fuck off.
No kidding.
Like, so basically, and it's funny because I actually estimated that back in like 2022, I think it was actually myself. I'm like, I was confident because contrary to what TriMet's official numbers are now, their official numbers at the time, after they opened it, the Orange Line Max, which is the latest Max line they created, it was $7.9 billion is what we paid. It's a 7.8 mile long light rail line. 80% of the track was already freshly laid by Union Pacific, who owns the right of way, and because it goes through multiple huge freight rail yards there on the east side of the river. And 80% of it, basically from the east side of the river, once it gets across Telecom Crossing or Telecom Crossing all the way to Milwaukee, it was already just freshly laid out and built, all the rail. So all that needed was the catenary wires be laid out and the stations to be built. That was it. It was already bought and paid for by Union Pacific. And so it should not have cost that much, but it cost, therefore, what does that equal? Just over $1 billion per a mile. Now they claim its official number was like 5 billion or something stupid like that. And they did that with the Green Line too, which is the one before it, where it was actually $5.6 billion officially they released as the price that we paid for it. After like fresh was completed, and then as usual for TriMet, they conveniently completely redo all their numbers so that it's like on average of $2 to $3 billion lower than we actually paid for it, just to make it look better. And it's like, it's the real price being 5.6 from, by the way, all the way from Gateway all the way down to Clackamas Town Center. Is its exclusive new track, right? And it's on viaduct, which is more expensive than at grade, but it's good. It should be, although it's along the freeway. So ODOT probably gave them a subsidy for that because it's ODOT's right away. In fact, the FTA would have given them a subsidy because it's also considered a federal highway traffic administration property because it's a interstate. That's federal property as well. So as a result, they at least would have gotten a subsidy from them for that. But like 5.6 billion. But all the rest, if you remember, it was already built because it's already yellow line and blue red line track, right? It shares the same right of way all the way until Gateway, and then it has this new track down to so it's like 40%, 40% of the track was all that needed to be new and built, and it still cost 5.6 billion.
Cool.
And then Orange Line costs 7.9 billion for a 7.8 mile long line. Except 80% of it was already built, and not counting downtown's rail, by the way. If you count downtown's rail, there's it would have been just basically Telecom Crossing, the bridge. That's it. That's the only new rail that would have needed to be built. All the rest was just catenary stations that east of the river. That's it. And it still cost 7.9 billion, $1 billion per mile. Now, that completed and opened, I think, in 2014. So, now put that into 2026 dollars, just for perspective, if they did it now. And then also put the years between the opening of the green line versus the opening of the orange line, which wasn't that far. It was about 5 years, right? Actually, no, it wasn't. It was 4 years because the green line opened in 2010. So, okay. So you have 4 years difference. And it went up by almost $3 billion. Okay? Now, think about if they built it instead, just the orange line alone now. If it increases on average that much by then, and now you have all the infinite inflation price on top of it, and you have the infinitely higher construction costs than they ever used to have in construction material costs, and import tax because of tariffs and stuff too, you have a price, at least I would say, that's got to be at least like 12.5 to 15 billion just for the orange line to be built now rather than then. Jeez, that's insane. Like if you think about the actual average inflation and then adding the actual inflation cents, so 4 years later, almost 3 billion more. But we didn't have inflation then. Now we have tons of inflation.
Yeah, no kidding.
And the construction market wasn't stupidly expensive and overly expensive and at its peak price that it is now and has been for about a year. So if you add that inflation, both of those inflation points to it as well, it's probably 12.5 to at least 15 billion. It could actually be more is what we'd pay for it. Now, think about it going over the Columbia River as an extension of the yellow line instead. A fucking bridge over a river that has to have a clearance of at least 180 feet by Coast Guard standards.
Wow.
Or it has to open via a lift bridge. If you do that, by the way, that completely ruins any point in you building a transit line anyway. Because it's immediately any advantage it has is gone because it's a ship needs to get through.
Exactly.
It's fucking, and the Columbia River there has so much vessel traffic through it, it's ridiculous. So like, it doesn't make any sense already. But still, think about how much that's going to be, especially if the IBR is supposed to cost 18 billion.
That's going to be freaking insane.
And then you add to that it going, only like a mile and a half into Vancouver, but along the federal right-of-way that is the Interstate 5. Between the Interstate 5 and the painting wall of the city of Vancouver is where you're going to be getting off and on the train in Vancouver, right? Because they don't want it, so it's not in their plan, so that's the only place they can put it. Think about the cost of that now. It's going to be at least, I'd say, 20 billion. Because at the time, this is why I mentioned this with the IBR's price, right?
Yeah.
At the time in 2022, I predicted this. And you can actually look back on my Twitter, by the way, because although you're going to have to go through just egregious amounts of retweets of just all tons of stuff for years worth, like 4 years worth. I mean, it's not going to be worth it because you're not going to find it. But, it's there, I promise you.
It's there.
Because I might actually have said it in a live stream or a video actually on my channel. I gave the prediction that bridge, that max extension into Vancouver would cost, based off the orange line at the time, would be costing by then probably somewhere between 12.5 and 15 billion dollars. Or no, sorry, 12.5 and 18 billion dollars. And you know what's fucking funny? What is the IBR's current cost estimate? 12.5 to 18 billion dollars. And that's for the IBR. That's for the interstate bridge, not for the fucking
grand.
The light rail. So now you see how it comes into full perspective.
Yes.
But like that shows the corruption also at TriMet economically. I mean, like every level of the state of Oregon is just so infinitely and irreparably economically corrupt. It's infuriating as a lifelong resident because that's the main way it's gone so far downhill that it's the quality of life in Oregon is actually really shit now. Like compared to what it was even just 10 years ago, let alone 20, is brutal. I mean, it is just so bad. And you can just see the writing on the wall, as I like to say, in blood, because it really is that bad, that it's just going to keep plummeting further and further because it's like the state wants to kill itself off. It wants to go.
It literally
just wants to take itself out. I swear to God, it's suicidal. The way they run the state makes no fucking sense. It's infuriating.
Exactly.
And then, you have obviously we could in another episode because I'm sure we've gone on for a lot longer than I think, probably like an hour and a half at least. I'm guessing
we've gone about an hour 42 actually.
I'm really good at my sense of time, aren't I?
Yeah, you are.
So, like, and this has basically just been my episode. Now that I realize it, I didn't expect it to be. I thought you'd have a lot more to say, but then again, I'm just so impassioned about this. That
don't worry about it, man.
Which I feel more bad for the people listening or watching because it's like you come here for a conversation. I'm just conversating with myself.
Seriously, this is something that we both feel strongly about. My gosh.
I would even say like politically, sociopolitically, it's shit. Like,
yeah,
when you're from a place like the Portland metro area, right, that is known for its arts, it's known for its eccentricity, it's known for its outward expression of people and like its vibrancy in that way. Portland was known as one of the hubs for improv in the country for a long time, but because of the woke movement, because of the letters, numbers, and symbols bullshit, the extremist ones, so not the LGB, obviously they aren't included in that group at this point, and they don't want to be included in it, actually, most of them, thank God, because they're smart enough people. They're like, this is not what this is about. Fuck that shit, that's bullshit. This is because they're actually victims now of it too, very badly victims. But anyway, especially because of the T's, because that became so over the top and sounded this weird, like all men are fucking rapists and all white people are racist and all, especially if they're men, and all whatever, right? Like the wokeism bullshit. Ever since that took hold, especially I'd say from 2016 forward, and even more so once the pandemic and the shutdowns happened, that's really when everything went to shit.
Oh yeah,
especially socially here, sociopolitically, and I'd say loosely politically, more socially, because my example I want to give is that with the art scene, right, being the leaders in improv. You know what fucking died during the pandemic permanently here? Improv.
Absolutely.
You can, I'm telling you, go on, if you want to prove this to yourself, go on to meetup.com and just sign up just so you can look in the Portland metro area for an improv group. They don't exist. They literally don't fucking exist. LARP groups don't exist. Live action roleplay groups. Which arguably is the most involved, in-depth, and creative form of improv. They don't exist. And it hurts me because that's one of the first things I want to do. And this is part of my therapy too, is I need to get out more and I need to socialize more, right? Because I'm an introvert. I've had almost nothing but negative experiences with people, right? So like, understandably, I'm kind of apprehensive to do this. And so, you go out and you look for these groups. I immediately put, improv down, and then I put improv acting, and I put, LARP or whatever, LARPing and stuff like that in there, which are obviously official categories, but they just don't exist in the Portland, Vancouver metro area. It's just not there. And it hurts me because I want so badly to be a part of that because I would have so much fucking fun. But like my last therapist I had for 2 years, that unfortunately, again, her and the place I go to for therapy for, agreed to part ways recently for whatever reasons. I didn't obviously want to invade privacy, so I didn't ask as much as I wanted to know. But they parted ways in the end of December, and so I have a new therapist now. But she remarked multiple times, and it was under her own volition. I didn't do this myself. And again, she's probably my age, maybe a little younger. I don't actually know her age. I never asked. I always wanted to because I swear she looks to me younger than I am. Obviously couldn't be by that much, but like she was around my age basically. She was the one who, on her own volition, I didn't prompt it at all. She said that she speculated and felt that it was likely because of, without saying woke or wokeism, it was because of that. Like people are too. She literally said people are way too. I think people around here especially are way too sensitive. That they're too nervous, anxious, or scared to be willing to do true improv or live action role playing because somebody might do what improv does and just go with the flow and then say something or do an act that or joke that they immediately take deep offense to. And now you have a big rift and you have this big split and division and schism in your group because how dare you as a white cisgendered male say such a thing? And it's like it's improv, it's acting. Like you're not, there's no such thing as serious in that. You're just trying to have fun. That's it. You're being creative and entertaining. That's the point. You're not you. You're a character that's actively developing in live time off the top of your head. Like
exactly.
Fuck off. Like you could at least vibe with it rather than attacking us for it, you know? It's like, are you fucking serious? You can't let go of your weird identity politics for even a second to do real creative improv? Like, really? And that's, of course, you know, my personal bias kind of taking over for that, but because obviously she didn't go that far. I took it there. But, you know, like, she was at least mentioning that they're super sensitive about it. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's exactly one of the reasons why also I don't like the idea of socializing because of where I live. Because I guarantee I'm going to cause more rifts than anything just being myself or making the jokes I make, because apparently you're not allowed to make that if, ironically, you look at my pin skigment. My pin skigment. I'm not dyslexic, I swear. By skin pigments, you know, because that's not racist, by the way. That's anti-racist to look at somebody's skin color and then gatekeep off of that. Same with facial features, you know, because all white people look the same, I guess.
No, dude, I sympathize with that, man. I mean,
it's bullshit.
Well, dude, I sympathize with that, man. I mean, for crying out loud, I'll tell you this one. The fact is, in many circles, I'm considered persona non grata myself.
Yeah, it just makes it like almost impossible to like properly build any kind of a friendship or kinship with someone, because
exactly
you're almost always expecting to either be backstabbed or to be jumped or to be suddenly eviscerated and shredded, and like,
exactly
you're the worst, most arrogant, rude dork or you know, piece of shit or something like that.
Or you're considered literal, the spawn of Satan for
literal
crying out
Nazi
loud.
or something, and it's like Jesus Christ. And I've also to equal parts been apparently a commie for a long time, a dirty nasty commie too. Like and there's a lot of people out there that are stuck in that position where they're like, apparently everyone rejects you because you just don't belong to any group. So you're like, okay, you said this and made this joke, therefore you're a Nazi, or you're a far right Bible thumping, you know, American good old boy MAGA guy. And then at the same time,
you're like me, you're the Babadook.
or literally the next fucking sentence that same person can say, you next thing you say, right? There's literally one sentence later, they all of a sudden flip it, and now you're a dirty nasty commie, and you're a Bernie bro or something. And it's like, bro, how can I be like, pick your fucking lane? You know, like,
exactly.
How can I be
your
both
choice?
How can I be both the epitome of totalitarianism, which is the exact opposite of real communism, and fucking Adolf Hitler or Pol Pot or Auguste Pinochet or something, while at the same time I'm somehow like Karl Marx, but like on steroids in terms of liberalism. Like, you can't be liberal and fascistic. It's literally impossible because they're directly opposite of each other. Like, one is full totalitarian autocracy, the other one is, you know, like, well, freedom literally is what liberalism actually translates to. Is liberal is freedom or liberty, which is freedom. Yeah. So like it fucking sucks. People fucking suck.
Dude, I'm with you on that one, man.
So, you know, best of luck to me in the near future for finding my my lifelong partner, because that's never gonna fucking happen. Probably. I hope I'm wrong, but like what the fuck, man? You know? And it's kind of like society entraps you into a cage where it's like you're just there to be berated, you know? It's like,
you're there
poked
to be
and prodded,
berated.
you know?
Yeah.
Like, make an example out of you.
Yes.
White boy. Oh, my bad. I forgot. Only the anti-racist people are allowed to say that. I'm a bigot by their standards, so.
Yes.
Because I said that, so. even though they're the ones looking at the skin pigment of my facial features and being like, you're too white to be able to say that word or make that food or eat that or wear that clothing. Or why did I become Southern? I don't know, but I did. I'm a country boy all of a sudden. Let me get my hat back and my glasses. Hold on a second. Now, you see, I'm a Southern good old boy now. Okay, so let me tell you the way God intended it. And it's very poetic for how we started this episode. So let me tell you, as a good Christian boy who's totally not a fake atheist, or that doesn't make sense. A fake atheist.
It doesn't.
A real Christian of, I guess it does sort of work. It just doesn't feel right to say it, even in act. Listen, what I'm trying to say is I'm a contradictory fool, but I ain't no bigot. Now, I really am more of a separatist, you see.
Fuck.
I'm kidding. I felt like channeling my inner Uncle Merrill.
Yeah, I could tell. I could tell.
Well, I wouldn't call myself a racist. I call myself more of a separatist.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
So fucking funny. Now, let me go nigger rig something real quick.
What the hell, man?
I find that,
No.
I find that shit to be so funny, though. That is so fucking absurdly stupid.
It is stupid.
It's hilarious.
Jeez.
It's a comedy in itself. It's so hilariously, outlandishly dumb. I love it. So
Yeah.
niggering.
What the hell?
It's so funny too because it's actually a backhanded compliment to black people, hood people too. You know, people from the hood, like, you know, I don't know, fucking L Block in Chicago or something, you know, because like these racist people, right? They're like trying to demean them by calling it nigger rigging. But the irony is that actually it's a backhanded compliment because the only reason why they're nigger rigging something themselves is because it's apparently better than jerry rigging. Because it's just it's a more racist term for jerry rigging, right? So it's supposed to be demeaning, but in reality, they're actually complimenting them on their jerry rigging skills. And they're like, that's why they do it themselves, right? It's like, let me nigger rig this real quick. It's like, dude, you don't realize you're actually complimenting them. You're not insulting them like you're thinking you are. Like, you're actually pointing out that actually they're better at jerry rigging shit than you are. They're more innovative with poverty. Like, I don't know what to tell you, but that's kind of backwards. But all right, you know, like, it's so stupid. It's so funny how like you can have so much personal experience going both directions. You know what I mean? I guess apparently now I'm just wearing the sunglasses instead of the hat.
Exactly.
I was wearing the hat before without the sunglasses. Anyway, but like, you know, it's so weird, isn't it? Like how you can be both direction. How you can meet people that are both directions, where they're both equally as bigoted and racist as each other, while they're trying to say that they are not racist and bigots, or when they clearly are, or then the other side of the fence, they're trying to insist that they aren't, while insisting you are, while themselves being extremely racist, because they're literally looking at your skin tone, your facial features to determine if they should gatekeep you and kick you out of being able to say that you can't sing a certain set of lyrics of a rap song you like or something, you know? It's so dumb, dude. Like, people are fucking stupid, but welcome to the world. There's a lot of both people in the Portland area too. It ain't just in Vancouver, it ain't in Vantucky where they are. They're all over the place, you know. So the actually really racist people, like, we have a lot of underground skin and hiding skinheads all over the Portland Vancouver metro area. We always have. They haven't ever gone. That's why, like, during the 2016 shit, right? The Antifa versus Proud Boys / Patriot Prayer groups.
Yeah.
The Proud Boys branch and the Patriot Prayer group. Patriot Prayer was founded by this and was ran by this guy up in fucking Vancouver. Actually, Vancouver, and Vantucky, as people like to call it, for up here, around here. I don't know. Vancouver's kind of nice to me, but like, whatever. I guess I'm just too much of a bigot to not see their apparent redneckisms, as if I should give a shit if they're rednecks or not. But like, and they're not, obviously. But they're just more Portlanders.
Sorry. I'm sorry, man. I don't see that. I mean, I literally spent Pesach over there, man. Mm-hmm. And in case you guys don't know, Pesach is basically Passover, and basically it's a festival.
It's also the long lost brother to Meshach and whatever the other Shack was. I forgot actually.
It's actually 3 names.
Right.
Shadrach,
That's the one I was
Meshach,
thinking.
and
There we go.
Abednego.
See, I've always wanted to change it into something like Meshach, Weshach, and a Wendigo. Because like it just makes so much more sense to do that because it rhymes and it's just fluid. Whereas the other one's like, do you have brain damage? Like,
Yeah,
what are
do
you?
you have brain damage or something?
Who are you talking about?
Yeah, who are you talking about?
Those aren't real places or people, so I'm not.
No!
I think you're mixing them up. I think you hit your head one too many times on the pavement growing up. Yeah, no.
No, actually, those are traditional Aramaic names, actually.
Well, they're shit. No. Shut up! No, Shadrach actually sounds to me, I've always thought about this. Shadrach sounds very, actually, it could be Irish to me. It sounds weirdly Irish. And I guess because my brain sees Shamrock and then Shadrach, and like they look similar. So like, could be the same. And then Meshach actually just sounds like something that you could argue at some point way back in the day was Gaelic to me. I don't know why. Abednego. Is it Abednego or is it an Abednego?
Abednego.
Abednego.
Yes.
There's too many fucking syllables in there ran together for me to be
The
able
word
to keep
abed
straight.
literally means to servant.
Yeah.
Servant of Nego, essentially.
Yeah.
I
Anyway,
think that was a pagan deity. I don't know.
Anyway, but yeah, no. So the getting back on track though, yeah. The point is that there is genuinely a lot of underground skinheads or in hiding skinheads and other white supremacists in the Portland, Vancouver area. There always has been. One of the things I like to remind people about is that in the 1980s, the mid 80s, was actually when Oregon went from being extremely racist collectively, including politically, let alone legislatively, so legally, as well as with the people. Went from like being extremely prejudiced and like weirdly almost CSA level racist to being like a complete 180 flip. And it was all because of Portland State University, because there was a bunch of their skinheads that were in that lived in Portland that decided that they had a fucking problem with the existence and the living life of these Ethiopian students that PSU had. And so they decided they wanted to try to kill them. And they were going to massacre them as they exited their classes for the day at Portland State University.
Yeah.
And that immediately caused an instantaneous, intensive reaction from everybody. And they're like, what the fuck are you doing? And like, they literally got ran out of Portland like that after that. And like everything, even legal policy in the state changed by that point. So that's really when it truly went from one of the most racist states in the country that it had been since its inception to one of the most opposite of that since, because people realized, what in the fuck are we doing, you know? And like, are we really actually kind of allowing this to just be here and fester? Like, that's not fucking gonna fly.
No kidding.
And that just set everything into motion. And so now it's kind of the opposite. And that's why actually a lot of the reasons why people call it Vantucky is because the majority of the white supremacists that lived in Portland had immediately after that moved into Vancouver and the surrounding part of the area, metro area, and they've lived there ever since. But they go into hiding unless you're 2016 and you want to just get a ton of publicity, and therefore you join Patriot Prayer and Proud Boys. I can't remember what's his face's name. He looked like fucking Keemstar to me, the leader of Patriot Prayer, who led those counter protests, really just trying to instigate each other for attention. But yeah. So I do want to acknowledge that it is existent. I'm not going to pretend it's not. But like, come on, you can't be equally as racist as an actual supremacist are by being so just as equally racist and bigoted as they are as an anti-racist. Like, at some point you think these people got to fucking be smacked on the head hard enough to realize, looking in the mirror, like, holy shit, we are what we said we hated or we were against or anti. You know, it's like we are literally the most racist pricks on the face of the earth right now. But yeah, and of course, you know, there's various other things I could complain about here in Oregon as well. Whether it's politically, let alone socially. I mean, like, one more thing I guess I'll throw in there, because that way, you know, we can just make it one episode and we don't have to worry about this again. for a while, about 2 months now.
2 months. Yeah,
That's a lie.
That's a lie.
Is the fact that like one of the other big pieces inside my heart that hurts is the fact that like growing up, there was a signature to being an Oregonian.
Yeah.
Like there was, because you know how every state usually has their own, I don't know if you want to call it a culture or subculture, but like they have their own way of living, right? And their own way of talking to each other and socializing or whatever. And Oregon was no exception, right? So we always had this, we had the point of pride where it's not the country. Nobody ever said, oh, we're from America, we're from the United States, whenever they went anywhere else in the world. They always said, I'm from Oregon or I'm Oregonian. That's one of the things that Oregonians were always known for. In fact, if you ever went up into, especially up through about 2015, if you ever traveled up to the Yukon or the Northwest Territories, one of the things that they loved up there, the people who actually live there, right? They love is when Oregonians visit, because they always are so proud of being Oregonian and being from Oregon. It's, to us, our nationality almost is Oregonian or Oregon. It's not, the country doesn't almost exist. We don't have any pride or care about that. It's always been our actual home, which is our state, right? It's the thing that we're building. And on top of that, like, it wasn't an arrogant pride point either, like usually national titles are, right?
Yeah,
like,
no
I'm
kidding.
from America. Why ain't you speaking English or something? You know, like, don't you know how to speak English? What the hell? I don't know why I became Southern for that either, because actually probably it's more often city folk that do that actually from here, I bet, because they're the most arrogant usually.
No kidding.
But still, you know, like, we have that, you have the fact that, like, we had our signature way of being, which was always considered cold and rude to outsiders, but it's just being private people. Like, we're just very to ourselves. You know, we have our tiny little inner circles, and we like to keep it that way. We don't like to outwardly socialize and reach out and be like, hey, how you doing? Where are you from? Can I help you? Where do you want to go? Like, we aren't like that.
That wasn't exactly like that. Was
Enclosed people.
That wasn't it when my father was moving over here.
Yeah.
He was getting. He had the bird flipped at him.
No, I was gonna say, actually, that is one keystone that's always been true about Oregonians ever since the birth of the state, is every generation of Oregonians, it's not taught, it's literally born into us for some reason. I know this for sure because my family, I didn't grow up around anybody who hated Californians or did not fuck with Californians, especially Southern Californians, and had this like innate hatred for them. Like, go the fuck back home. Like, we are genuinely bigoted when it comes down to Californians. If you're from especially the LA area, you can fuck yourself. Like, we do not tolerate your existence here. And the funny thing is that it lasted up until like 2012 to 15-ish.
Wow.
Because that was when the Californication, because of the stupid fucking Los Angelinos mainly, and the San Franciscans, that all moved up here in mass, right? That's when they forced the Great Replacement. Like, there's actually a true Great Replacement, but it's happening in Oregon only, especially from about 2010 to 2012, all the way through to right around now, really, which is that the mass majority of born and raised multi-generational Oregonians don't live in Oregon anymore. They moved the fuck out during that period because they did not want to be here while it got turned into California 2 or 3. Which it absolutely fucking has been being turned into that, and it still is. They're almost like a joint fucking state at this point, because the government, whatever the Oregon sees California does, they just have to go and do it themselves.
Yeah,
and the same with fucking
do themselves.
Same with Washington. It's like, you're a different fucking state.
Do something different.
Fuck yourself. Like, we're not California. Go off a cliff and die by implosion. Like, it's just, like, it's violently wrong to us to do anything Californian, especially Southern Californian policy-wise, because fuck Southern Californians, man, seriously, unless you're from San Diego. That's the funny thing, too, is that usually, once people from Oregon, we find out you're from San Diego, we're fine. It's, if you're from anywhere else in SoCal, though, you need to go fuck yourself off a cliff and die, or move elsewhere, because we don't fucking like you. And we have, the funny thing is, we literally have, I've talked about this before, we actually, you got me on a completely different tangent. We're gonna be here for another 20 minutes at least now.
Oh,
like, I got to do, he did this to himself. We've got to do this now. Okay, so, literal statistics, and this is the odd part of this, the funny and odd part, fun fact, is that California didn't get its first mass immigration, so emigration, moving into the state until 1950.
Wow.
And the second big wave, and that's really when it started to boom in population, all the cities started to rapidly grow, was the 1960s.
Oh, grand.
What's funny is so California like no population until like 1955 to 1960, and that's really when it started to gain population. So it finally had a decent population, and then by like 1970, it was loaded with people.
Wow.
So what's weird about that is that you think that couldn't have any impact when they moved out of the state after they only lived there for like 5 to 20 years, but you'd be fucking wildly wrong. Again, especially from the San Francisco or the LA area. Because by 1970, they had data and statistics that they could wave around, proving that as soon as people moved there and then moved out of there after 5 years or more living in California, especially SoCal or the Bay Area, and they moved to a different state, that state would go to fucking shit immediately. Everything would begin to be turned into another California, and everybody hated them. And that's why, actually, if you think about it, you look at the data and statistics throughout history, the entire country is the most hated state population-wise at every state is California and Californians. And it's always the same resource or the same basis of why. But think about that. 1970s, right? They didn't have their first big move-in until 1960, 1950s, 1960s, especially 1960 or so. That's when everybody started moving to California. And by 1970, in Massachusetts, in Oregon, in, I think, Texas, and there's one other state, I think it was New York, the people who had lived in California for 5 or more years already, but data and statistics could be proven that they were already pissing everybody off when they moved to those states. And they were changing things so fucking fast to mimic what they already experienced and they were building in those cities and in those places that they were building up in California. Not even sometimes 5 years prior. And so in 1975 or so, Governor of Oregon, Tom McCall, started his fucking campaign to tell Californians to get the fuck out if they already moved here. And then the other thing was, what he did is he had the campaign, which was actually brilliant. It was super funny, and we've loved it and cherished it ever since in Oregon. If we're born multi-generational Oregonians, is if Californians come up here to visit, right? We're like, you can visit as long as you don't stay and you go the fuck back home. In other words, don't you fucking move here. And it was super funny because everybody heartfelt adopted it, like with the wholeheartedly adopted that motto. And that's where like a lot of the original signs, all the rest of the states got that from Oregon, which is those basically like thanks for coming, now fuck off signs, you know, when you're leaving the state, basically like, in other words, exclusionaries. Like if you're not multi-generational from here, you can go fuck yourself. Specifically though, with California for us. And so it's just like, if you're from California, Oregon is that way, and it points to like Idaho or something, you know what I mean? Like all of those memes started with Oregon and Tom McCall, because and it's funny actually too, by the way, in case you don't know, Tom McCall is actually a Massachusetts. He's from Massachusetts originally. He spent most of his life here in Oregon, obviously, so that's why he had his career here, and why everybody considers him an Oregonian anyway. It's really an honorary, but you get the idea. He went to school here, so on. Tom McCall was the guy who got the data and made it a national level data, where it was already collected that way, but he did it to prove a point, which is that there really is such a thing as Californication. I know he wants to make the reference immediately.
Exactly.
To the Red Hot Chili Peppers song.
No, actually, David Duchovny.
You have to take that into consideration, and then obviously every year since, you collect more data, and it's just some of the best data you can have, again, as you and I have always agreed on, is lived experience.
Exactly.
What have we noticed, especially the last 15, 20 years in Oregon? Everything's becoming Californiaized. Everything's becoming California, especially LA, California.
All right, dude, I'm just gonna say this, and now
have you ever noticed all the storefronts, right?
Yeah.
They all of a sudden all started adopting the LA architecture and like paint codes and stuff. The fake palm trees started coming in out of nowhere, and it's like the Washingtonias, I think, is the technical palm tree.
What's even worse?
It's like, what the fuck is happening here?
You know what I've noticed? Freaking apartments. Do you know how much an apartment over there in California costs?
It's over 2,000 in any of the cities.
Sometimes
usually.
3.
I know, yeah. It's fucking stupid, and that's for a 1-bedroom or a studio.
Yeah, that's for a 1-bedroom or a freaking studio.
And then, of course, all the New York City people will come in and be like, well, that's nothing. Have you seen the studio apartments that are like 200 square feet they average like $5,600 a month? You're not special. Fuck you. Nobody likes you
you're
either.
You're not special. Fuck you.
Nobody fucking likes you either, you prick.
Yeah, durr.
And I know that's the way you like it, because that's how New Yorkers are. You're fucking hardened assholes who like being known as assholes.
Exactly.
You told to fuck off. You're like getting a fuck off competition. So fuck you.
For crying out loud, though. Jiminy criminy, though. Here, freaking market apartments, 1,400.
It's actually higher if you're in Portland, obviously. It's like 16 to, actually no, I think it's like
16 to 1,700.
Yeah, and that's slightly lower than it was for a few years. I think it was actually upwards like 1,900 for a 1-bedroom.
Wow.
And the average 1-bedroom in Oregon is at least in the Portland area, is like 700 to 750 square feet. I mean, this is 755 square feet. So it's really nothing at all. And sometimes you can be on affordable income, like me and my mom here at this unit, and live there for over the 7-year threshold, which, if you don't know, Oregon has a state statute that says you get granted a ton of homeowners' rights if you live in an apartment or other rental place for more than 7 straight years. And so, like, technically we're due those things. We've never been given them. We've never been allowed, like, they don't even acknowledge it here. And again, like I said, this place is becoming a true slum. So, like, we're already considering moving out. And at affordable income, 755 square foot, 1-bedroom apartment here, in a high crime area, by the way, by insurance companies, which is God forbid true. Because, like, even the police will jockey and try to pawn off each other's calls because they just do not want to respond to this neighborhood because they're so sick of it. And that's been that way for years now. So insurance rates are through the roof too. And yet, affordable income in this apartment, you know what it fucking is? $1,050 we've been paying this whole year. And it's now switching to month. You can't get a year lease like we normally do, which we wouldn't do this year anyway, obviously.
And you're on affordable income.
Affordable income. $1,050, so $1,050 for this shit.
Wow.
And on top of it, it's going to go up, inevitably. And now because it's month to month, it can go up incrementally every month. It's fucking stupid. So
yeah,
like,
I'd get out, man.
You can get a market rate up the road in a really gorgeous neighborhood, really treed in, tons of amenities around, decent transit access, and it's $1,400 a month for the exact same size 1-bedroom apartment. Exactly. And it's upkept incredibly well. It's maintained consistently. Everything's in great condition inside and out. It's like quality of life's great. There's a lot better sense of community. Like $1,400 market rate. Wow. Affordable income, exact same size apartment, 1-bedroom in a high crime neighborhood. That's not, all the other
and
issues.
They're still going to charge you through the freaking
$1,050 now, and it's about to be more. Probably somewhere around, I assume, $1,120 a month on affordable income.
Wow. Wonderful.
So basically just barely a $300 difference a month.
What a concept.
Absurd. It's fucking stupid. He sidetracked me really hard. As I told you, it'd probably take like 20 minutes. It's probably been about 20 minutes now.
Yeah, it has.
But basically, yeah. So like that is true in that essence, that with Californians, especially Southern Californians, if you're from San Francisco, part of the Bay Area, you can fuck yourself to Oregon, born and raised Oregonians, multi-generational, because we have precedence for it. We have a good reason for it. And now even more so. And you, as a born and raised Californian from San Diego, can attest, as you already have now in this episode, to the good reason that we fucking have, including the sociological aspect, right? Because not even sociopolitical, just socially, people are so much more cliquey, and they're so much more vain, and they're so much more shallow, and they're so much more appearance based, and there's so much more just petty pieces of shit.
Dude,
and
that is like, so true.
All they care about is their stupid fucking fragile public image, and it's like, that's not even you though. There's a reason why it's called a public fucking image. It's because it's manicured, it's fake. It's because it's how you want to appear, and what you think is important, not actually who you are. And yet these people always have it all up in their identity is only their facade. It's nothing else. So they don't really even know who the fuck they really are because they don't have any substance.
No kidding.
Below the persona. So it's so, and that's what especially the LA area is known for, right? That's infamous. It's like that's all that's there. It's like soulless people just about. They're just all they care about is fame or like how do I look or like status or some shit.
The thought that comes to mind when you said Californication, in this case, it reminds me of zombification of the people.
Actually, that's a decent way to put it, yeah. It's fucking sucks here for that reason. Plus, again, it's always those really aggressive zombies too. Is what I would have to add. It's the aggressive, not the sleepy type. It's the aggressive type. They're going to fucking bite your fucking face off.
Yes, they are.
And they're going to do it with as much prejudice as possible because they have whatever excuse they justify in their head in a flash of a moment, even though you're a complete stranger. They don't know anything about you. They're going to immediately assume they know everything about you because you said one word or like 2 sentences and a joke and they didn't like it. And that means that you're now
your persona non grata.
All the pejoratives in the book. And it's like, that's how these people are known to be. And you wonder why everyone has this prejudice against them. There's a lot of damn good reasons for it. Besides the fact that, again, everything gets so to shit when it comes down to also the price of just existing in your own home skyrockets because the fucking Californians came in and now they're changing everything to a California 2 or 3. And it's just like that. And again, like there's a book, I think a book is what dubbed it, like an author, I think in like the 60s or 70s himself that called it Californication, I think. Like it was dubbed then because it was it was already a very obvious lived experience and data collected thing of like, you could live there for like 5 years and already you're fucking everywhere else over and trying to mimic it. And yet you left it because you didn't want it. It's like, oh, it's getting bad here already. It's getting too populated. There's too many. The policies are not great. You move somewhere else, and what do? You try immediately to bring all this same things with you. This is why people say leave your fucking politics back. If you move from somewhere, especially if it's sociopolitically, for that reason, like one of the dominant reasons, you leave that shit behind you. You know, like you don't. I would add, in my eyes, you don't have to add their politics, the new states or areas' politics, to your. And make that yours, but don't learn from your fucking where you came from that you're moving out of as like a sociopolitical refugee in a way, because that's why one of the main reasons you're moving, right, is because you can't stand it there. It's going to shit. So what do? You learn from what happened, how it happened, how the history in it progressed to that point, so you don't repeat it again elsewhere.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean you have to inherently accept whatever those politics of your neighborhood, new neighborhood you moved into, your new state is. You can still be entirely different or even opposed, but like just learn from the shit that you're moving from.
No kidding.
You know? But you know, people here in the Portland area as well, what do? They fucking make politics almost entirely their, like a huge portion, if not almost entirely their entire identity. And it's just like, why? Politics is some of the stupidest shit. It's one of the most infuriatingly boring shit. It's literally a tool for division at this point.
It is.
And it has been for decades. Why the fuck are you bothering with it? Like, the people around here also like to say that, oh, we're such conscious people spiritually and, you know, otherwise, you know, mentally and intelligently conscious people. It's like, are you really?
Really?
Have you ever fucking looked at yourself in the mirror and said that to yourself while you're making in politics your whole identity? Especially if it's identity politics. So it's also surface level. It's just, how do I look? You know, performance politics, if you, or performance psychology, or sociology, if you will, you know. And then like obviously, yeah, you have the contradiction of things like policy and people versus like, oh, we're so green, but then yet they're like completely unabated fucking subsidies given to all these big tech companies to just constantly be building constant data centers everywhere. And then same with fucking, you know, like, you know, they're considering building new nuclear plants and dams. And it's like, again, hello? You know, like, they're building a new data center, or they're trying to. There's a House resolution bill in the legislature right now in Oregon. And so, like, even globally, or not globally, sorry, nationwide, people can do this. They can write into their senators and be like, don't you fucking dare. Because this sets a bad precedent if it's allowed to go through. Because it's an actual House resolution. So that means that it's going to be a law that opens it up to where data centers have even more freedom. And we get stuck with even more of the bill.
Wow.
That they take up. Because data centers are some of the most environmentally destructive things you could have, and is also economically destructive long term because it doesn't really have any employees. It's automated. And guess what? We're paying for their bill. We don't see any of the economic benefit or the profit that they get from it. So we're just, no matter what, even economically, we're fucked. Exactly. Environmentally, we're fucked. And then it's just, dams are the same thing, right? Like we know with the Bonneville Dam and then the other weir dams, basically, like the Dalles, right? The locks and Cascade locks and all that, that behind each of them, the temperatures of the Columbia River average rising by another 2 to 4 degrees. So like instead of being the temperature should be, behind each dam, it increases by 2 to 4 degrees year round. And so that's why we're having such salmon population issues, because they can't handle those temperatures. They're so fucking warm, and it keeps getting warmer and warmer. And that's why the introduced American shad are proliferating like a motherfucker. There's so many American shad in the Columbia River now, especially behind those dams, that they literally think it might become an ecological disaster within the next 5 years. Because they'll literally just take up all the fucking oxygen that's remaining in there from all the rest of the fish, and then all the native fish will just die because it's also they're warming it up. And then we just have an invasive species we introduced that's just, there's so numerous that they're just like, you literally can't stop even accidentally foul hooking them when you're fishing now, literally, to where like not even shad season where tons of people go out there and they catch as much as they can, but like it doesn't do anything to their population. It's fucking ridiculous. And again, we've known this for a long fucking time. Some of the algae growths and blooms and all the other toxic things that happen in warm waters like that. And we're just like, well, let's build another one. Or like, well, we need to keep those because it's important for our power source or whatever. And it's more renewable than insert bullshit here. And it's like, how about fucking geothermal? Nobody considers geothermal still for some reason. It's like, we're in fucking Washington and Oregon, some of the most geothermally and geomagnetically active places in the fucking earth, constantly, and you're not even going to consider it. Yeah. It's the least invasive, least environmentally negative, and actually like neutral, at least environmentally and economically, form of and energy we could get, and it's consistent because they're so geomagnetically and geologically active all the time. And it's like, what are you doing instead? There's so much to it that just frustrates the hell out of me. Recycling policy, fucking forestry is a full fucking rant in itself. It's just like, fuck that clear cutting obsession.
Yeah, we should.
And I know it's like 2.5 hours in now.
Exactly.
But like, look, I could rant forever about how stupid the state is.
I know. You could.
Not as emotive as I thought I would be, though, or emphatic. But
no kidding.
I think it's just because I've had a harder time being able to find the right words to stay on track with.
Well, no kidding.
Today, so. Hopefully the next episode won't be such a murderous task for me to edit now. Now he's on this. He did this to himself, the extension of by about an hour. And meanwhile, I've done this to myself just by talking.
Exactly.
In terms of editing. So this one's going to be murder to edit, I think.
Yeah, this is going to be a real murder to edit. Yeah.
But apparently it turned into a me episode, and I did not want it to be intended to. Like I said, it makes me feel bad more for the people that listen and watch.
No kidding.
Because you guys would be coming for conversations, and instead it's just, like at least normally you'd think preemptively. You'd be like, okay, we're gonna announce that it's a Shaun episode, it's a me episode, it's one of the special episodes. But
well, no kidding.
But then it's off the cuff, so like you don't expect it, you don't know it's gonna happen, you don't plan for it, and then it does, unfortunately. Anyway, yeah, I guess that's the episode for today. Oregon fucking sucks. The only thing keeping me here is I don't have an income right now, so I can afford it if I wanted to. Family. And then the environment, aka just how literally otherworldly magical the fucking ecosystems and the environment and the scenery is. Just like, it's kind of hard to let go of. Yeah, but that's it, man. Like, that's the only thing's keeping me here, and that's heavy to fucking have to note and accept, because like you don't want that to be where you're rooted and your home is, but like I genuinely believe at this point it's past the point of no return. There's no hope for this state to be recovered anymore. Like I genuinely think
agree.
It's screwed to hell now, and it's not going to be able to come back. And I hate that that's true, but maybe the country has to fall for.
Actually, I'm with you on that one. Quite frankly, my opinion
reset.
Quite frankly, my opinion is I don't like this state either. Actually, I hate it. The fact is the only thing that's keeping me here. What?
No, go ahead.
No, the only thing that's keeping me here. The only thing that's keeping me here is income.
Ironically.
Yeah, but that's it.
When he says income, he doesn't mean like how much he's making, obviously. He means, in other words, that he doesn't make the income he needed to move. Obviously, because that's one of the things that pisses me off about that too. So people are always like, if you don't like it here, move. It's like, yeah, except I know you're not that stupid to know that it's like you can just move at any time. You need a lot of fucking money for that, and usually you need a job lined up ahead of time for that.
Yeah.
And you don't even get signed to usually set up your new home because you have to immediately get to work.
Exactly.
Like, fuck you. You know better than that. I know you're not that I know Americans are fucking brainlessly ignorant and stupid people, but like I know you're not that stupid. Everyone knows they cost a fuck ton of money to move. So, that's another aspect of that irritates me. Because I get that all the time. And it's like, same with just not liking the United States at all. And it's like, fuck you, dude. Like, I know you're not that stupid. I know I don't need to tell you how ignorant
fucking
you're choosing
brain
to be.
dead that is.
Yeah, I'd like to see you do that. Because you totally have the money, I bet, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. You have the time, you have the job lined up. If you move to a different country, do you have you have everything necessary they will require you to have in order to even get a green card as a resident, let alone to then eventually get citizenship? Do you know the legal languages they require you to be fluent in to move to a country? Like, you can't move to Canada and not know French fluently. You have to be fluent in French. Fuck that. French and English are the two worst languages in the world. Why the fuck would I want to also add French to my
no kidding.
My self-flagellation list, So
self-flagellation.
Just about everywhere you look at in the world that you might consider moving to, if you didn't live in the U.S. anymore and you moved elsewhere, that's a problem. Because they almost always require you to know that country's language and sometimes extra languages. Like, you can't move to Norway or Sweden without knowing German and Swedish and Danish and Norwegian and English.
Wow.
Like, I'm surprised they don't include Icelandic and Finnish at that point, because fuck it, why not? At least Icelandic, because that's Old Norse, technically.
No kidding.
They modernized. Moving to a different country is almost impossible for us. Well, even more so for me, because you are a polyglot. I only know English, and I barely know it, because you can't really truly know or be fluent in English for obvious reasons.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's true. I am a polyglot.
I know he knows Greek. I know at least
Koine Greek.
Yeah. So he knows not ancient Greek, but like the Middle Age Greek.
Yes.
He knows. I was gonna say
biblical Hebrew.
I was gonna say Phoenician as a joke. Canaanite, no.
No, I'm actually planning on learning Canaanite.
Yeah,
actually.
But yeah. So I almost said Phoenician again. Phoenician Greek, no. Koine Greek, biblical Hebrew, modern Hebrew.
No, not modern.
You don't? I thought you did.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, then I guess just biblical Hebrew and English. I thought you knew another one. Didn't you know Aramaic to an extent?
No.
I thought you did. Okay, well, apparently he only knows 3. He's a fledgling polyglot.
He's trying to fledgling polyglot.
And I love how technically only one of those is technically globally useful.
Exactly.
Even if he moved to Israel, they wouldn't be like, but do you know modern Hebrew? And it's like, I know biblical. And it's like, I don't think we can legally accept that. We're not living in 198 BC right now.
We're not living in 198 BC.
BC, before current era. So
exactly.
Yeah, it's Canaanite next. And it's just like, I also know Canaanite, and I'm learning Aramaic slowly. Again, we're not 3,000+ years ago. I don't think that's applicable to us right now. So,
we're not in 3+ BC.
We only know English. Okay. You cannot be a citizen here. Long story longer, I have severe issues. This was one of them, by the way. I like how we started with that. Now we can end with it again. In fact, let's get our fucking fits back on. How do I look? Do I look like a male Karen from the South?
Kind of. You almost look like Elvis there, man.
Elvis. I don't know. These just look, because these are meant to go over normal, actual, like, medical glasses. So, you know, because I have visual impairment, I wear those. So these are polarized lenses as well. So, because my glasses aren't polarized, so this adds polarization.
Yeah, you look like a Elvis impersonator.
I don't know.
Or
Just
something.
looking at these, they look like a knockoff Gucci that, like, you know, like I said, right, middle-aged mom van drivers would be the ones that are, the mom van drivers that are only ever driving like expensive $100,000 plus like G-Wagons or Range Rovers or something like that. Evokes. Taking their kids to their soccer practices, bitching about their life because it's so hard, despite the fact that they have so much money and they live in a multi-million or like $1 million house,
mansion,
in a gated community up in fucking Bethany or some shit.
Or better yet, Malibu.
Yeah, and it's just like, fuck you, dude. But anyway, that's what these look like to me. So I just think of that, like the really bitchy soccer mom Karens, you know. These are the glasses that they would wear while they're like yelling, like, I want to speak to the manager. Where's your boss?
Where's your boss?
Night, you looked at my child in the wrong way, and that was misgendering. Anyway, yeah. Well, thank you for listening to whatever the fuck this mess of an episode is going to turn out to be. This is the first truly incoherently messy. Well, that's not incoherent. It feels incoherent, but it's not. Yes. It's very coherent episode of the podcast. So, however the hell this ends up in editing, hopefully much more, you know, precise. Precise, concise. Okay, cool. Simultaneously, why not? Jinx, Slugbug Yellow Shotgun. There's your fucking millennials phrases for the day.
Yeah, no shit.
And yeah, I don't know. I shouldn't say anything else, I feel like, because I've already talked so fucking much. I want to sock myself in the fucking trachea. I actually kind of do. I'm actually annoyed right now by myself.
Cuff podcast. You guys have a good day or don't.
Or night. Wherever you are.
Wherever you are.
As I like to always say. And until next time, I am an unprofessional idiot and nitwit.
And so am I.
Oh, I was hoping you'd say something else in improv. I'm disappointed. Disappointed!
No, better yet, I am the shadow.
And I am the night. I am justice. I'm Batman. See, my throat's fucked up enough because I am
dead justice.
I am dead dick. That feels like a fucking shitty fucking joke that Deadpool would make. I am dead dick. Well, I can't get it up anymore because somebody fucking cramped my style.
Yeah.
That sounds like something you say, right?
Exactly.
Anyway. Tally ho. Good evening. Good evening, my dear people, and hope to see you in the next episode of Off the Cough. Off the Coif.
The cough.
I will unironically be naming our religious special episode if we ever do that. I'm sure we will at some point. When I'm wearing the Pope outfit, hopefully, and you're wearing, I don't know, like a cardinal outfit or something, or priest outfit, for the episode, I'm going to call it Off the Coif because I feel like it's funny, it's a good play on the name, and it's actually accurate to the topic at hand.
Yes.
Coif. Off the Coif. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm going to go get hit by a truck and die now. It's important. It's an appointment I've had for too long.